now, we've got the big one, which is the Silent King's Dynastic code. All Dynasty codes have 2 abilities now. So rather than just one, you've got 2, and you get to use both of them. And then there's a weird third ability that uses something called the protocols. So the way that Necrons work now is you're going to have your Dynastic code, which is cool. That's like if you're a Space Marine, it's your chapter. And then you've got your Warlord traits, your Relics, your Stratagems, all that. But you've also got these things called protocols, which are kind of like the directives that the Space Marines
exactly.
get.
I forgot that word, directives that you guys...
They're kind of like the directives. So for Space Marines, in the first turn of the game, their heavy weapons get an AP boost. In the second and third turn of the game, their rapid fire and assault weapons get an AP boost. And then after that, it's close combat weapons. Necrons is a little bit different. You have 6 different protocols to choose from.
You have to keep it all in your head as well as your Dynasty rules. And I'm like, I am going to be so smart.
Actually, they're releasing data cards for these, so you can have hidden cards so your opponent doesn't know what they are. It's cool. You get this cool new device.
Yeah, I like write it down. I'm like, okay, on my first turn, I'm going to use second, strategy, and then third turn, I'm going to use the fourth one. I'm going to have like my grandma little notes with a piece of paper.
It's just a deck of 6 cards, and you just pick and choose. So the point is get the data cards. They're going to be important.
Yeah, I guess so.
And what happens is you'll assign them to a turn. So you'll be on turn 1, I'm going to use Protocol 3. On turn 2, I'm going to use Protocol 1, blah, 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 blah. And then each protocol has 2 options, and you can pick and choose on the turn which of the 2 you're going to use. They're usually quite synergistic, so one of them will be defensive, one of them will be offensive. Sometimes they're both offensive, and especially to a Space Marine player, we don't like them. No, I'm joking. but that's the thing, right? You're going to pick and choose.
Yeah.
Now, you only use 5. So of the 6, you'll only pick 5. And your opponent doesn't know what they are until they turn up, until they use them. The Dynastic codes, if you pick one of these 6 codes, and what I was getting to is, for one of those turns, for one of those protocols, this Dynasty is so good at it, they will get both abilities.
Yes.
So when you're designing your army, if you know that you hit hardest on turn 2, you're going to want your protocol that is assigned to your Dynasty to probably be on turn 2. Because then you're going to get the double ability.
Yeah, just a lot more variables right now to play with, So what I first seen, at least for me, is just redesigning my army from scratch and just play test a lot between different dynasties, different codes, different order of how I redeem those codes as well too. So that will be important as well too.
And now I think this is really huge to say as well. I'll tell you some behind the scenes stuff. Eve's been, not complaining, but mentioning that she's getting bored of playing her Necrons. She loves Necrons, but you've been playing the same game over and over again.
They get a lot of updates now, and I'm like forced to play them a lot now because people want to see all of this Necron stuff too. But like I'm like, okay, but can I play anything else as well too?
Well, now you have to play brand new armies, you don't have a choice, because the Necrons are very different. It's like playing a brand new army. So let's go over these. So Mefrit, it's got the same ability it had before. In fact, all the Dynastic codes have the same ability as before, but they've got an extra one. So the extra one that you get here is that armor penetration is within half range like before, but the range of your guns increases by 3 inches. So that's pretty significant. If you've got like some rapid fire weapons, that's going to be huge. Especially when we're talking about those new guns, the 14-inch range guns. It's now a 17-inch range. That's pretty beefy, right?
Yep, for sure.
Then we've got Novok, which is the close combat one. They're going to get +1 to their charge rolls, and every time they make a close combat attack, if they charge or were charged, this one, you're going to increase the AP by 1 for close combat. So this is begging to be used for the new Cryptek destroyers.
Yeah, and if you can have different detachments of different dynasties as well, too, right?
Absolutely.
Even more variables to keep in your head. Goodness.
Absolutely. You can totally use 2 detachments. And I do think that before, a lot of Necron players were just picking one detachment, one dynasty. I think you may have a close combat dynasty and a shooting
You have to be
dynasty.
very strategic now, I think, in this game, too, and just plan everything ahead.
Which isn't a bad thing. This isn't a bad thing. So now we're going to go on to this one, which I can't even say that word. I feel like it's said in Russian.
I thought it's not Russian.
Zarakan. No, it's just a hard word to say for somebody from England. Zarakan.
Zarakan.
Yeah, Zarakan. So these guys have a 5-up, feel no pain against mortal wounds. Now, I know that Necron players had a problem with mortal wounds before. You can now just, all my guys have 5-up, feel no pain against it. And also, when you're selected to shoot or fight, you can reroll 1 wound roll when making the attack. Now, this is really important. This is per unit. So that means if you're playing a army and your army only has 1 shot, like in that unit he only has 1 shot, he will be re-rolling a wound roll. But that's every unit in your army. So, for example, you can take destroyers in a unit of 1, and if each one is going to re-roll a wound roll.
See, again, there is like a different ways. In the past, I always like to max out my squads because it's easier. That way it's shorter, deadlier, and then reanimation protocol reanimates better, basically. They're most likely for them to come back to life. But again, in this particular codex, it's either or. It's a different play style. You can max out your your units and use your command points more effectively that way because it's affecting whole unit, or you can separate them because that way again they have different benefits.
Yeah, to put this in perspective, in the old edition, the reanimation protocol benefited you to have big units, but multi-wound models now, it's really hard to bring them back. The new reanimation protocols is quite complicated. I'm going to explain it. It really benefits one-wound models a lot more than multi-wound models. However, that means your destroyers, you may want to play them in units of 1, specifically because they reroll 1s to hit anyway, and with this, they'll reroll the wound roll, and there's no point in having a big unit. So now, each individual destroyer has to be targeted separately, which is huge. So they're going to have to say, well, this many shots are on that one, this many shots are on that one.
Fire will be so
You're going to force them to split fire, and they hit on 3s, reroll 1s to hit, and then with that huge strength, they're going to be wounding on 2s probably, and re-rolling failed wounds. Yeah. Naturally, no command point necessary for your extermination protocols, Eve. So what I'm saying is, there is just a new way to do things. So that's what they've got. The next one is Nephrek. Nephrek's pretty cool. They've got a 6-up invulnerable save. Your whole army, 6-up invulnerable save.
That's pretty good.
Pretty good.
That, yeah.
Especially with reanimation protocols being a little bit weaker than it used to be.
Yeah.
One of my friends did a calculation, by the way. Reanimation protocols for a multi-wound unit, it's something like for a big unit, it can be like 4% chance of coming back. Whereas before it was like a third, like a 33% chance. On a single wound model, it's totally different. Necron warriors are actually more likely to come back.
Was it Arjun?
No, it was my buddy Scott Jeffs. Shout out to Scott Jeffs if he's watching. He used to be my roommate, and he worked at Games Workshop. Good guy. Okay, next up, the Nephrek guys, when they advance, they can translocate instead of advancing. You don't roll a dice, they just move 6 inches, and they can teleport through things.
Oh.
So that's pretty cool. The problem with that is if they do that, they can't shoot. And of course, if they advance, they can't charge. So they can't shoot, they can't charge. But they're going to teleport. So that's pretty good. Unless they've got assault weapons. Oh, no, they still can't shoot. Nope, they can't shoot, they can't charge. So that's pretty bad. Yeah, so that's them. Next up, we have Nihilek. Nihilek are... I can see people playing an attachment of these for warriors for tournaments. And I'll tell you why. Every unit in the army has objective secured. Everyone.
Okay.
In addition, any unit that had objective secured counts as double models. That is 20 Necron warriors counting as 40 on an objective. Good luck taking control of that objective from Necron warriors that come back to life all the time. So yeah, that's tough. In addition, if somebody is shooting you and you're in your own deployment zone, any weapon of AP -1 becomes AP 0.
But there's so many. If someone's shooting you and you gotta be in deployment zone and you gotta have -1, IP on their
Under
gun.
the blue moon on a Thursday.
I know, exactly. Like why would I use this one?
So yeah, so that's an interesting one. Sortek is the one I think everyone's going to play. Sortek's incredible. Sortek is when you take a morale test, you can reroll it, whatever. But your rapid fire weapons, rapid fire up to 18 inches. They're 2 shots up to 18 inches. Those new 14-inch guns, the strength 5 AP -1 of the Ghost Reaper, I think it's called, is now doing double shots at 14 inches. And here's my theory. I think we're going to see 10 Necron warriors inside a Ghost Arc. From Sortek. And I think we're going to see a lot
of that. You just want your Ghost Arc so badly, huh?
Ghost Arcs are the bomb right now. No. And I will show you, I will convert you all to Ghost Arcs.
Destroyers.
Yeah. Yeah, so that's that.
But
the cool thing is the ancient dynasties. You can create your own Necron dynasty.
That's exciting too.
Now, the downside if you do this is you're going to be limited in what special characters you can take. Because they only appear in their own dynasty. So you want a Sortek character. So if you want the Silent King, you're playing Zarakan as one of your dynasties.
You have to play dynasties?
Because that's where he's from. That's where he comes from.
So all the special characters, all the cool lords and stuff.
They go in their own detachment. So you can have a Zarakan detachment with the Silent King, and then you can have a Sortek detachment with Nemesis Andric. Right? But you can also design your own dynasty. What's cool is almost every ability, these aren't like nerfed versions, almost every ability here is here and then some. What you don't get is the double protocol, where each one of these gets that double protocol. You don't get that.
Oh, gotcha.
But but you get everything else. And the double protocol isn't the best. Something that's worth mentioning on the double protocol is it only affects models within 6 inches of a character. Because it's basically like data being dripped through.
There's so many variables and so many conditions to achieve those. It's like just very, like my brain is gonna explode.
But I do want to show you one of my favorite dynasty abilities. I like Rad Wreathed. I don't know if you've seen this one. I think this one's incredible. Basically, you have radiation Necrons. They're covered in radiation. And any enemy within 1 inch, take away 1 from their toughness. which is
Yeah, it's good.
amazing. Amazing. It doesn't affect vehicles, obviously, it's radiation, because, they're made of metal, they're immune to it. But it would affect other Necron warriors who wouldn't be immune to it, despite being made out of metal. That's one of Eve's pet peeves. Enemy Necrons, obviously. So, but this is really cool, because you do a close combat army.
If I'm fighting Necrons... Wait, hold on a second. So if I'm fighting the same Necrons, with same dynasty of my opponent, and they also have this radiation stuff, they're going to take damage.
You're both toughness 3.
We both reduce 7 damage.
Yeah.
Even though we're both radioactive.
Mm-hmm. But it's cool, because you're radioactive. Radioactive. Anyway, so it's cool you can design your own dynasty. I think Eve's going to spend an evening in the bathtub with this book and design her own dynasty. That's my theory on what she's going to do. And by that I mean she's going to ask me to do it while she's in the bathtub. So let's continue on. We have stratagems. And the stratagems are different colors, and I'm not 100% sure why. I think they might do something with that. We've got battle tactic stratagems, epic deed stratagems, requisition stratagems. This might be something to do with Crusade. I'm not 100% sure why they're different colors, but they're different colors. All the stratagems are different. Like, they're not the same as they used to be. So I'll give you an example. The Extermination Protocol stratagem, which is Eve's old favorite, is very different now. So the Extermination Protocol stratagem is now 2 command points instead of 1. It used to say destroyers reroll failed hits and wounds. It now says locust destroyers reroll failed wounds for 1 turn. Now, it's worth mentioning the destroyers have not gone away. The locust destroyers are the destroyers. They just added the word locust in front of them. In fact, the image of the locust destroyers is the new one and the old one. So the old destroyers are the locust destroyers.
But I don't have their abilities.
But you don't need to reroll failed hits. They already reroll once they hit.
Because people know what they do. People know, like, when I play my opponents now, they know how deadly they are. So they always give me -1 to hit all the time, or like -2 to hit, whatever.
Well, yeah. So that's.
So that's why I'm always buffing them out. I'm like, I don't care. I have the stratagem.
So one of the big things is a lot of these stratagems only affect core infantry or core. And actually, sometimes core infantry and sometimes it's core, and there's a difference. Whenever it says core, you're kind of stuck. You can't use the ability. So a good example is no destroyers are core, so you can't use this on anyone. There's some pretty cool stuff. One of the things that I absolutely love is the flayed ones. The flayed ones got a huge benefit in this game, in this edition. They're not troops. A lot of people were hoping the flayed ones would be troops. There's a lot of lore about the flayed ones being entire armies of Necrons covering themselves in flesh. That's not how they are. They are much better in close combat now. They're much better overall. For 2 command points, they get to fight again. Worth mentioning,
that's good.
Almost every other unit in the game that gets to fight twice pays 3 command points.
Yeah.
So you only pay 2 command points, and the flayed ones are now AP -1, and if they roll a 6, they get extra attacks or something. So, and there's a lot of attacks. So they're a good unit.
Yeah. But again, this makes sense to buff it out, like, and make the max out units.
Exactly. Absolutely. Yeah. So that's how it is. It's worth mentioning that reanimation protocols is very different now. Some people are very confused about it. I'm going to make it really simple. You basically use it when the miniatures are hit. It's like a feel no pain, except it's not based on how many wounds they take. It's based on how many wounds the model had. So if I've got a squad of 5 Tomb Blades and 2 of them died, that would be 4 wounds, because each Tomb Blade has 2 wounds. So I would take 4 dice and I would roll them. Every 5 up, I would put together and try and make as many Tomb Blades as possible. So if I rolled 2 5s, a 6, and a 1, the 1 I would discard, and I've got 2 5s and a 6. The 2 5s or the 5 and the 6 would come together and make 1 Tomb Blade and bring it back. The other wound would be wasted because one wound doesn't. Discarded. It's just discarded, and the dead Tomb Blades are destroyed. They're gone.
Unless there's some stratagems you can bring. Now, I will choose later. Hold on a second. I do have another question though for you, ultimately. So let's say if I am playing with a destroyer who has 3 wounds, right, and I received 5 wounds from my opponent, right? Like they overshot me, and they shot me 5 times. So I still roll only 3 dice.
You only roll 3 dice.
Equal to my wound count.
Right, but to bring the destroy back, you would have to roll all 3 as 5 up.
Yeah,
it's very, very difficult. But this does bring in cool abilities like the Technomancer. So the Technomancer has this ability to just bring back a dead model.
Yeah! But only core model, right?
But only core model.
But my destroyer is still either, right?
And this is where it comes back. So you're basically, your top units are probably not going to come back, but your Necron warriors are going to come back really heavily.
I don't care about them.
The Ghost Arc automatically brings D3 models if they've already been destroyed and removed.
Core models, right?
For a command point, you can bring back D6.
Core models, right?
Necron warriors, yeah. Mm-hmm. But D6 every turn from a Ghost Arc. I thought everyone's going to play Ghost Arcs. I'm just saying it. So that's great. They fixed some stratagems as well. So it's worth mentioning Entropic Strike. This is the C'tan ability.
Yeah.
In the old edition, it was worded really poorly. One of the C'tan attacks in close combat would ignore invulnerable saves. This one, for 2 command points, every attack ignores invulnerable saves. But it's irrelevant because the Nightbringer does that naturally.
Well, we'll get to it, right?
And we'll get to that. But the C'tan are up there now. Like, they've actually limited C'tan to 1 C'tan per detachment because of how good they are. I'm not going to go through every single stratagem because long story short, don't want to ruin it for you for when you get the book. But we do have the book, and if you've got questions specifically about anything, we're more than happy to to answer them and to talk about them. But it's worth getting the book. Like, that's half the fun. The key things that I think that people are going to care about are the monoliths. You are going to be able to teleport via a monolith. You're going to be able to turn up like you can before, which is pretty cool. And actually, the monoliths themselves have an amazing ability, which we'll talk about a little bit later on, because they can do that naturally as well. So here's a fun one, Eve. This is for your Tomb Blades, 1 command point. Use it in your shooting phase. And Tomb Blades, until the end of the phase, all their rapid fire weapons are Assault 2 weapons. And they don't suffer the penalty to hit and fire assault weapons after advancing. So you can move, advance, and shoot with no penalty. So that's pretty cool. Yeah. Tomb Blades are really up there. Unless, do you want me to go through all the stratagems?
No, it's
so I figured. Yeah, I don't want to bore you guys with all of them. It's been on the page for a while. We've got 2 pages worth. There's a lot here, but mostly they're only going to affect.
I wonder what those colors are. Because this is like different as well.
Yep, absolutely everything's different.
War gear stratagem.
Yeah, so there's a lot of different things. But I'll give you an example of why this is upsetting, right? So disruption fields, 1 command point. Use this stratagem in the fight phase. A Necron's core unit from your army gets +1 to strength. That's not really good. Like, you don't really want your exactly.
Yeah,
but your Lich Guard are close combat, and Lich Guard are going to be everywhere because Lich Guard are core and they're beefy in close combat, and there's already some combos I can see people using with them. So it's absolutely worth it. So it's absolutely well worth it. All right, so lots and lots of stratagems here. Let's see if there's any really good ones. This is pretty good. Solar Pulse, 1 command point. Your opponent can't use a cover against you. Yeah. That's pretty good. Let's see if another one.
I like this one's the too.
Yeah, it's pretty good. The Necron's Quantum Shields. When you're attacked, 1 command point, it becomes a 4-up invulnerable save instead of a 5-up invulnerable save. So there's some pretty good stuff. The Scorpek Destroyer's ability, it's 1 command point. When somebody attacks them, reduce their attack wound roll by 1. So the Scorpek Destroyers, as tough as they are, the ability to make somebody reduce 1 to a wound roll is going to really keep them alive. Okay, so then we get into the Dynastic stratagems. So we've got Mephrit. It's 1 command point. When a Mephrit unit is selected to shoot, until the end of the phase, an unmodified wound roll of a 6 inflicts a mortal wound in addition to any normal damage, but to a maximum of 3 mortal wounds. So a little bit of a nerf there, but still mortal wounds for shooting is pretty good.
So it's specifically stratagems that only Dynasty I pick can use, basically, right?
Correct.
Okay. So I think those, because this is color-coded as well too, I think the command points only probably was used by the Dynasties, no?
No, actually, because it's just based on what type of stratagem it is. So it's very interesting. That's just
because it's the same colors,
just the color.
No.
And look, these two are both green. See? Nephrek, this is pretty cool. 1 command point, use it at the beginning of the game, and you can pick 1 Nephrek unit, and it gains dimensional translocation. Basically, 1 unit of your choice gains the ability to teleport. Now, worth talking about, that could be your destroyers.
But there is limitation to it. They can shoot if they do that, right?
Nope, they can do it. They've got to be 9 inches away, but that's it. They turn up on turn 2. So there are ways. Your ability exists, just it exists in different ways. If you played Nephrek, let's see, what ability would you have again? If we looked here, you can use those stratagems if you played this. Oh, that would be the 6-up invulnerable save.
Okay, I'll think about it.
So there you go. So that would be an option. Nihilek, 1 Nihilek infantry unit that's performing an action, they can shoot without the action failing. This is for those new objectives. Novok, use it in the fight phase. Until the end of the phase, add 1 to the attacks characteristic. Again, I could see people Sortek Destroyers, or the Scorpek Destroyers, or Lich Guard. Sortek, use it in the shooting phase. After it's finished making its attack, pick 1 enemy model, or 1 enemy unit that was targeted by attack by a model in this phase. Until the end of the phase, everyone else gets add 1 to the hit roll. That's the same one from before. You remember that one?
Yep.
If you've killed someone, you can do it. And then the Zarakan, this is the big one. When somebody tries to manifest a psychic power within 18 inches on a 4-up, it's denied.
Oh.
That is the second way for them to cancel psychic powers. The Silent King can cancel psychic powers.
Oh, for free, right? Okay.
That's one command point, and the
Silent King.
And the Silent King can do it as well. So there's some good stuff there. Cryptek Arcana. This is... What is this? If your army is battle forged and includes any Necron detachments, then when you're mustering your army, you can upgrade any of the Cryptek models by giving them Cryptek Arcana, chosen from those presented here. Each time you give a Cryptek model a Cryptek Arcana, its power rating is increased based on the table opposite. If you're playing a match play game, then the points value must also be increased. Named characters cannot be given it. So this is bonus artifacts you give to Crypteks to boost them. So let's have a look at these, because these are all brand new. The Psychomancer, this is the one that does leadership effects, I think. Is that this one, or is this? Yes, this is the one that does leadership effects. At the end of the movement phase, pick one enemy unit within 18 inches and roll 3 dice. If you roll over their leadership, they take D3 mortal wounds.
Okay. This
one, at the start of your opponent's shooting phase, pick one enemy unit within 12 inches of this Cryptek. They take -1 to hit. This one, once per turn, the first time a saving throw is failed for this guy, reduce the damage to 0.
Okay.
This one, they gain the dimensional translocation ability, so this Cryptek can teleport. Subjugate to Scarabs. At the heroic intervention step of your opponent's charge phase, pick one friendly unit within 6 inches, and they can perform a heroic intervention.
Nice, okay.
Yep. The Chronomancer, in your shooting phase, pick one enemy unit within 18 inches of the bearer until the start of your next turn, half advance and charge rolls for that unit. Pretty good, stop somebody charging. Failsafe Overcharger, the Technomancer. In your command phase, pick one Canoptic unit until the start of the next command phase, add 1 to the attacks characteristic. D3 attacks if it's a big kinetic. Hypermaterial Ablator, these are great names. Pick one core or Canoptic unit within 9 inches. Every time a ranged attack is made against them, if they're more than 12 inches away, they have cover. The Quantum Orb, only for a Plasmancer. Once per battle in your command phase, the bearer can activate this item. If it does, pick a point in the battlefield anywhere within 24 inches of the bearer and put a marker there. At the start of your next command phase, roll a dice for every unit within 6 inches of it. Take away 1 if they're a character. On a 4 or 5, they take D3 mortal wounds. On a 6, they take 3 mortal wounds. It's okay, I think everyone's just going to run away from it.
What is this, Dow?
Yeah.
Markers for here.
Yeah. At the end of the charge, this one's the Metal Dermal Tesla Weave. At the end of the charge step of your opponent's charge phase, pick one enemy unit that finished the charge move within 6 inches, roll a dice on a 2-up, they take D3 mortal wounds. So, pretty good. The Phylacterine Hive, Technomancer. Once per battle, when it uses Rites of Reanimation, you can select the friendly Destroyer Cult unit to be affected by the ability instead. Or a Canoptic or a Triac Praetorian instead of a core unit. That's pretty good, once per game. And in this one, unless the bearer is the closest eligible target, enemy models cannot target it with ranged attacks. Okay, this is pretty good, the Phylacterine Hive. The question is, does it interact with the other stratagem, the Deathless Arise? It can use its Rites of Reanimation ability an additional time. Once per battle, when it uses its Rites of Reanimation ability... Oh, no, I think it's just once. That's kind of annoying. The Rites of Reanimation ability is going to let him bring back a model. So, sadly, you can't duplicate them because it's just once. So, there you go. But that's pretty cool. Then we've got our Warlord traits. The Warlord traits are pretty much the same. Whenever he attacks it, they take away 1 from their damage. This one, whenever you make a melee attack, reroll the wound roll. Maybe good for your Scorpec guy. On this one, every time you take a mortal wound on a 5-up, you don't take it. And any model within 6 inches, they can ignore all modifiers to combat attrition. Combat attrition is that new morale rule. This one, add 3 inches to the aura abilities. And you can, so for example, you can select a core unit within 12 inches. Implacable Conqueror, reroll charge rolls for a friendly core unit nearby. And Honorable Combatant. Pick one character unit, you add 2 to the attacks characteristic of your Warlord, but it can only attack that character. So it likes doing one-on-one combat. Then you've got the specialized Warlord traits for Mefrit, +1 to strength and attack. Nefrek, every time an attack is made against the Warlord, they get -1 to hit. Nihilek, if he's within engagement range of enemy units, it gets to fight. It fights first. Novok, every time you make a melee attack, unmodified wound rolls of 6 inflict a mortal wound in addition. Sortek, You'll love this one. Every time you spend a command point, roll a dice on a 5-up, you refund the command point.
Nice.
Yep. And then Zarrakan, if your Warlord has this trait, then when assigning command protocols for the battle, select 4 command protocols instead of 5, and one of the command protocols can be assigned to 2 battle rounds instead of 1.
Gotcha.
So
they stack these 2, right?
Yeah, so that's pretty strong. So if you pick Zarrakan, you're gonna get. So obviously with Zarrakan, you're gonna use the Zarrakan Dynasty. So this will get interesting with those protocols because the Zarrakan Dynasty is gonna let you use the protocol of the Undying Legions twice, essentially, for 2 turns. And so if we look at what that protocol is, just skip ahead just for a second, and we go to skip through the Crusade rules. We're not going to cover the Crusade rules just because there's a lot, and that's kind of like the fun, fluffy stuff you can do with your friends, because you're going to want all the tables and everything. But if we go to the Undying Legions, Living Metal gives you 2 wounds instead of 1, and when you make a reanimation protocol, reroll 1 of the dice. So if you're playing the Silent King, you can get to do that twice, 2 turns in a row. So
that's fun.
Turn 2 and turn 3, give me some pretty good stuff happening, right? Okay, so let's continue on. We've got the relics. Again, I'm not going to go over every single one of them. I'm going to talk about the interesting ones. The Nano Scarab Casket.
Yeah, that's pretty cool.
Now gives you 2 wounds a turn. I think it used to be D3. Now it's 2. The Veil of Darkness does almost exactly what it did before.
No. You tell him what it does.
Except it only teleports core units.
Yeah.
It's almost what it did before.
Core units. Before it was infantry, that's why I used it with my destroyers. It was good combo. But no, core units.
But now
warriors.
it doesn't have to be infantry. You could teleport Tomb Blades.
Right, or warriors.
Just saying, or warriors. Next up, the Resurrection Orb. This is pretty cool. Once per battle in the command phase, pick 1 Dynasty unit, doesn't matter what kind, that is not at starting strength and has not done reanimation protocols this phase. The unit's reanimation protocols are enacted, and every destroyed model, so that means even the ones that died before, begin to reassemble. And each time a reanimation protocol roll is made for those reanimation protocols, add 1 to the result. So now it's 4-ups. And so if you're down to like your last destroyer, you can activate this. If you've got a squad of 7 destroyers, you can have 7 destroyers now. If you've got a squad of 7 destroyers, that's 6 times 3, you're going to roll 18 dice, and every 4-up.
Gotcha. So even if they died.
Even if they died with the Orb of Eternity, you could. So you're going to roll 18 dice. We're looking at 9 wounds, 4-up, right? Mathematically accurate, which is going to give you back 3 destroyers. You go back up. Go back up to 5 from 1. No, 4 from 1. Come on, it's pretty good.
I used to bring them all back.
Oh no, now you get a whole bunch. Right, so that's pretty good. Then we go into the powers of the C'tan. Most of the powers are exactly the same as they were before. There's not too much of a change there. There's a little bit of a change, but not too much. But there's unique C'tan powers. The Deceiver has its own C'tan power. The Nightbringer has its own C'tan power. The Void Dragon has its own C'tan power. And they can use 2. They can use the one you select plus this one. That's pretty good. The unique C'tan power, the Deceiver one's kind of like whatever. Pick 1 unit within 12 inches, roll a dice, and add his leadership. Your opponent rolls a dice, and that's their leadership. And they take a mortal wound for everything you roll above theirs. Most of the time, your leadership's going to be about the same as the character that you're going to want to kill, and so you got like a 50-50 chance of doing a wound. So not that great. Shard of the Nightbringer, however, who basically rolled 20 like over and over again, got the Gaze of Death. Pick 1 enemy unit within 9 inches, roll 3 dice. For every 4-up, they take D3 mortal wounds. You're going to roll 3 dice on 1 unit. If you roll 2 4s and a 1, that unit takes 2 D3 mortal wounds. That is brutal.
Damn.
Yeah, there's nothing pleasant about that. That is horrible.
Yeah, that's awesome.
Yeah, so
That's
I thought
so
you'd love that. And then you've got unique missions that you can take for match plays. Pretty cool. You can choose these as your secondary objectives.
Okay.
So it's pretty cool. Then we get into the Crusade rules, which we're going to skip through, and then we get to the units. Everything is different. So we've got the command protocols. So we've got the new reanimation protocol, which I already explained. We've got the dimensional translocation, which is basically teleportation. We've got living metal. Not everyone has those, obviously. And then we've got the protocols. So you've got 6 protocols. The first one is the Protocol of the Eternal Guardian. You're going to pick one of these 2 abilities every turn. So tell me what you think about this, Eve. Directive 1, each time an attack is made against the unit, if it didn't move, it counts as being in cover, light cover. Or, every time an enemy unit declares a charge, you can take one of the charge reactions, either Overwatch at a 5-up, or Set to Defend, and you get +1 to attack in close combat.
Nice.
Yeah. So, pretty interesting. Protocol of the Sudden Storm. So again, you just assign one of the protocols to the phase, and then you choose the directive. You either add one to movement phase, or if they perform an action, they can still shoot. So I can see turn 1 people using +1 movement. Protocol of the Vengeful Stars. Every time they make a ranged attack, an unmodified wound roll of a 6 improves the AP by 1. And every time the unit makes a ranged attack and they're in half range, the opponent doesn't get the save against cover. That's the Mefrit one. So you're going to add that. So you're looking at a massive boost to your armor penetration and no cover saves. Protocol of the Hungry Void. Every time you make a melee attack, unmodified wound rolls of a 6 increase your AP by 1 in close combat. And every time you make a melee attack, if you make a charge move, R-charged, you add 1 to the strength characteristic. That's that close combat one that I think is just going to be brutal with Lich Guard. Protocol of the Undying Legions. This is the Silent King one, which we spoke about. So that's going to be living metal gives you an extra wound, and every time you make a reanimation protocol, you can roll 1 of the dice. To put that in perspective, if you take that, the casket, the nano scarab plus this, you could be gaining back 3 wounds a turn on a Scorpeg Lord from Zarakan. So it seems pretty nasty. And then the Protocol of the Conquering Tyrant. Add 3 inches to the range of this unit's aura abilities, and or this unit can shoot in a turn in which it fell back, but you get -1 to hit. So again, I know the Conquering Tyrant is a good one. Eve.
Why -1 to hit?
Eve, you would like that one.
But the reason I was my army was flying, so I don't have to have any penalties for shooting.
Yeah, so it's pretty good. I just want to see something just to confirm. If you take the Zarakan Warlord trait, yeah, you can pick any one. Yeah, he's a poor guy. So when a friendly Swordtech unit within 6 inches of this model, they make a move or advance, they add 1 to the movement. That was the kind of like the My Will Be Done, but that affects any core unit rather than selecting one. And in addition, he's got My Will Be Done, where you can add 1 to the attack's hit roll.
Nice.
So you actually, everyone gets the bonus to move. One unit gets +1 to hit, but it has to be a core unit. And then once per battle in the shooting phase, he can call a storm. If he does, pick 1 enemy unit within 48 inches and roll 1 dice for every other unit within 6 inches of that model. On a 4-up, they take D3 mortal wounds, and then on a 4-up, they take 3 wounds.
Yeah.
So, there you go. Pretty good. And Grand Strategist, this is great. You get 2 extra command points if you play with him. And he can use My Will Be Done twice. So, he's going to be boosting Swordtech people. Then we've got Orican, the Diviner. He's a Master Chronomancer. In your command phase, pick 1 Necron's unit within 9 inches. Until the start of your next command phase, you can reroll charge rolls, and they have a 5-up invulnerable save.
Cool.
So, kind of interesting. They don't have to be core. It's pretty interesting. Yeah. And then he has a 4-up invulnerable save. And then in your command phase, if he's on the battlefield, roll a dice. If you roll less than the current battle round, then until the end of the battle, you use his empowered profile. So he's like a tougher version. So well, pretty good. Anrakar the Traveler. Eve, I know you like this guy, so we'll talk about him. Fun. Yeah, he's My Will Be Done, Relentless March, all the stuff you'd expect. They get add 1 to the attacks characteristic of any Necron's core within range of him, which is pretty cool.
Yeah.
However, Mind in the Machine. At the start of the shooting phase, pick 1 enemy vehicle that is visible to and within 12 inches of him and roll 3 dice. If the model is Titanic, roll 2 dice. If you roll greater than or equal to the leadership characteristic of the model, you can shoot 1 of that model's ranged weapons as if it was a unit from your army. So harder on Titans, easier on
I think I was able to make that ability work for me. I always wanted to, but I always fail those charges. So those rolls, you know. So that's cool.
Yeah, but he's pretty good. Vargard Oberium.
I would always narrate it like, "Why are you hitting yourself? Why are you hitting yourself, Titan?" You know, that's what be my narration. You know?
I like that one. The Ghostwalk Mantle. This got nerfed. Before, when Vargard Oberium teleported, he would bring a unit with him. He now only teleports himself.
What?
Yeah. So that cheesy teleport
that was a
units
good
in.
Combo before.
That combo is
come
gone.
on.
Yeah. But no one can attack Nemesis Zandrak if he's within 3 inches. They have to target him instead with shooting. Illuminos Cesras, obviously got massive boost with the new model. He's got Rites of Reanimation. Most of the Crypteks, the ones that specialize in this, have this ability. Pick a Necron core unit within 6 inches. 1 destroyed unit is reanimated. If it's Necron Warriors, it's D3 models are reanimated. So that is one of those abilities that works later on in the game. So you can just he can just bring back D3 Warriors every turn. That's the one you can pay a command point, use his ability twice. I would probably be using it on on Illuminor Cesaras and bringing back 2d3 Necron Warriors every time.
How many core units? Like,
Welcome to Necron Warrior spam.
I know, right?
Yeah.
Crazy.
And then in the fight phase, if he kills one or more enemy models, then he can use his mechanical augmentation as if it were the end of the movement phase. So he can augment things twice.
Oh, okay.
If he kills things, so he wants to be in close combat. He's got his 36-inch range gun. I don't know if you remember, they dropped the range down before a little bit. It's back up to 36 inches.
Okay.
D3 shots, strength 8, AP -4, D6 damage.
Decent, yeah.
And in close combat, he's strength 6, AP -4, 2 damage. So he's pretty good, and he gets extra attacks. His augmentation, you roll a dice. It has to be Necron's core unit. But it's +1 strength, +1 toughness, or +1 ballistic skill.
Yeah, I always forget about those.
As long as you do the first two, Lich Guard are going to be great. In fact, the Lich Guard, all they want to do is be in close combat with him. Oh, hello! The Illuminor. He can use Rites of Reanimation 1 additional time per turn. So for a command point, he's bringing back 3d3 Necron core units every... Necron Warriors every turn, or 3 Necron core models. Now remember, the Lich Guard are core models. That means if he is hanging out with a bunch of Lich Guard, you're bringing back 3 Lich Guard a turn. It's going to upset people.
It's about line for Lich Guard.
Trays in the Infinite. God, I love this guy. His story's just the best.
I know, he's the best.
What I love about him is he's got this ability called an Ancient Collector. He gives you an extra heirloom because he brings it from his personal collection. You get an extra relic to play with, an extra artifact. Because he's like, no, use this one. I found it. So that's pretty cool. So I love that.
I know what happened. I fell on the floor around a bunch of dead guys.
Yeah, exactly. Where did it come from? Who knows? And of course, when you kill him, roll a dice on a 2-up, he comes back to life instead of one of your other characters. You can switch your character out. Yeah. So you make him your Warlord, and your opponent's going to have a hard time killing the Warlord. All right.
Well, it counts as killing the Warlord the first time he's slain, right?
No, I don't think it does.
I think it is.
Nope, remove the other model as if it were destroyed. Instead of triggering any other ability. There you go.
So it doesn't count as killing Warlord?
I don't think so, unless someone's going to have a rule. It says instead of triggering any abilities on death. So
interesting. Okay. Cool.
Pretty cool. We've got the Royal Warden. Everyone kind of knows what he does. He lets models leave close combat and shoot.
The only good guy in the whole army.
The Scorpek Lord, who Eve loves, rerolls hit rolls of 1, wound rolls of 1, and he's beefy and can do all sorts of things.
Love that guy. He's actually very useful.
Yeah. The Locust Lord. This is the old Destroyer Lord. It's essentially what you'd like to see, armed with either a close combat weapon or a Staff of Light, your favorite weapon.
No.
And he can come with either a Phylactery, regaining D3 wounds a turn, or the Resurrection Orb. Once per battle, it can pick 1 Dynasty unit within 6 inches that are not at starting strength, and their reanimation protocols are enacted, and every destroyed model gets to reanimate. So again, if you've got a unit of 20 Necron Warriors that's down to 5 Necron Warriors, you're going to roll 15 dice to try and bring that back. So Necron Warriors now reanimate on a 5-up and reroll 1s. That's going to be effective, right? Sure. Once per game, your Necron Warriors come back. So that's pretty up there. You got the Necron Lord, nothing too strange there. You got the March, which gives them +1 to moving, and you've got My Will Be Done, which is... Oh no, My Lord's Will, I'm sorry. With this one, you can, when it makes an attack, reroll a hit roll of a 1. So that's a little bit different. I think it's the Overlord that gets My Will Be Done. Yeah, there is, which gets +1 to attack hit roll. The Catacomb Command Barge, not too much different there. I mean, I think HQs are kind of hard to take in the new edition, so I don't think people are going to be spamming anything like that. These are the 4 Crypteks. Now, they spoke about this, Games Workshop spoke about this, but let's talk about them. The Technomancer. So this is the one that brings people back to life.
Nice.
So it's a Dynastic Advisor. If your army's Battleforged, then the Crypteks can be included without taking up slots. So basically, you can have a whole bunch of them without taking up battlefield slots. That's important because they're HQs, and it's hard to take HQs. So this makes it a lot easier. So basically, for every Cryptek unit that has a noble, you can take an extra Cryptek unit without. So it's basically 2 for 1. So pretty good. The Rites of Reanimation. Pick a core unit within 6 inches. 1 unit comes back. If it's Necron Warriors, it's D3. So it's the same as Illuminor Cesaras, but only once. The Psychomancer. This one's the Harbinger of Despair. In your morale phase, pick 1 enemy unit within 12 inches, roll 3 dice. If you roll over their leadership, pick one of the results opposite to take effect until the start of your next morale phase. Either they cannot perform actions, so that will stop them securing objectives, or they lose objectives secured, which stops them securing objectives, or half their advance on charge rolls, which stops them charging, or they can't fire Overwatch or set to defend, and they can't fight in the fight phase until everyone else has fought. In addition, when an enemy unit is in 6 inches of this model, subtract 1 from the leadership of the model and subtract 1 from combat attrition. Now, do you know how the new morale works? I know.
Yeah, it's weird. It's not really as effective.
Well, it is with this. Normally, you make a morale test.
Yep.
And then if you fail your morale test, 1 model leaves.
Yeah.
Then you roll a dice for everyone else in the unit, and on a 1, a model leaves. Every 1 is a model leaving.
Oh, so no, it's not just every single one, the rest of the army, not just like 1, and then if that fails, you don't roll anymore?
No, so I'm going to make 1. So let's use Necron Warriors. So
Sure.
if I've got a squad of Necron Warriors here, they've got a leadership of 10. This is a bad example. And you killed 5 Necron Warriors,
Yep.
right? So I'm going to make my dice roll. So I roll a dice. I add 10 because... Oh, no, sorry, I add 5, and I rolled a 6, so I rolled an 11.
Okay.
So because I rolled an 11, 1 Necron runs away. If I rolled a 15, because you killed lots more Necrons, only 1 Necron would run away.
Gotcha.
But then I would roll a dice for every model left in the group.
Gotcha.
And every roll of a 1, they run away. With the Psychomancer, it's a 1 or a 2 makes them run away. So 1/3 of what's left will leave. So it's up there. It's pretty beefy. The Chronomancer, this guy is... he has a 4-up invulnerable save, and pick 1 Dynasty unit within 9 inches, and until your next command phase, reroll charge rolls made for them, and they have a 5-up invulnerable save. So it's actually a little bit better than the previous one, which was an aura.
Yeah.
This one, you select a unit. It doesn't have to be a core unit. You can still give your destroyers a 5-up invulnerable save, and he has a 4-up invulnerable save.
Oh, good for him.
So that's pretty good. Worth mentioning, I really like this. The Technomancer comes with the Cryptek cloak. So the guy that reanimates can move 12 inches and circle over the battlefield.
Yeah, that's good.
Yeah, so remember, if you take a Technomancer, you can get another Cryptek for free. So you can take a Technomancer and a Chronomancer, and you can do some cool...
So many options. My head hurts.
There's a lot.
There's
a lot. All right, Necron Warriors, essentially what you expect. Strength 5, AP -2 on their Special Gorse Reaper, which is amazing. If you're Sortek, that's a 14-inch double shot, and you reroll 1s for their beat boops. Yep, which is pretty good. Immortals don't reroll 1 for the beat boops.
Reanimation Protocol, that's what he means.
I do mean Reanimation Protocol.
For the record.
And they've got a 30-inch range on their big Gorse Blaster now.
Nice.
So pretty good. The Cryptek Reanimator. So this makes a lot more sense now we know how the new reanimation rules work. In your command phase, pick 1 Dynasty unit until the start of the next command phase. If they're within 6 inches invisible, that unit is being healed by the reanimation beam. When they're being healed by reanimation beam, add 1 to the reanimation protocols rolled for the unit.
Okay.
Each unit can only be healed by 1. So you aim that guy at your destroyers, they now have a 4-up. So there are ways to do this. The Hexmark Destroyer, this is the new one that everyone's talking about.
Like
this is the 6-pistol guy, the cowboy. He has 6 pistols, he fires them all, they're strength 6, AP -1. Every time he makes a ranged attack, ignore any ballistic skill modifiers, and the target doesn't get the benefit of cover. And when you fire Overwatch, you hit on 2s.
Oh!
Yeah.
Hello!
Also, every time an enemy model is destroyed by a ranged attack made by this model's disintegrator, after you finish making the rest of your attacks, you can shoot with your pistols 1 additional time. These additional attacks cannot generate extra attacks. So basically, he can get up to 12 shots, providing he's killing people. And every time he makes its attack, reroll a hit roll of a 1 because he's a destroyer. So, I mean, Overwatch hitting on 2s, rolling 1s, 6 hits, kill some people, do it again. You don't really want to charge him.
I don't think anyone would, you know?
Yeah.
Knowing Overwatch isn't 2. Why would they?
So,
What's his regular ballistic skill? Yeah!
2+.
Weapon skill 2+. No, wait, ballistic skill 2+. Yeah, that's right, okay. Makes sense. So good.
Lich Guard. Amazing. 4-up invulnerable save, +1 to regular armor saves. They have a 2-up save, toughness 5, 2 wounds.
Wait, 3-up save.
Add 1 to armor saving throws because of the shield. Right?
They have a shield, huh?
They have a shield. So these guys are now a 2-up save and a 4-up invulnerable save.
That's good. Toughness
5, 2 wounds, and 3 attacks in close combat. There are many ways to get those guys up to extra attacks. There's a stratagem that lets them do it. There's all sorts of good stuff.
It's slow though.
Plus, Guardian Protocols. While a friendly Dynasty Infantry Noble or Dynastic Agent Infantry Noble is within 3 inches, enemy units cannot target the unit with ranged weapons. So they completely stop you shooting them.
Yeah.
However, having said that, most of the time no one can shoot it anyway. So, for example, the Scorpek Lord only has 6 wounds. If you surround the Scorpek Lord with Lich Guard, you can't shoot. Right. So what I can see people doing is taking a big unit of 10 Lich Guard, surrounding the Scorpek Lord, and by people I mean Eve, Veil of Darkness 9 inches away. The Scorpek Lord's not eligible as a target because he's like half an inch back. You got to shoot my Lich Guard with a 4-up invulnerable save and a 2-up regular save.
Nice.
And then probably have a Technomancer come nearby that can bring them all back to life anyway because they're a core unit. So, you know, Illuminor Sezrat's going to bring back 3 of those guys every day. And then, boom, you go in and take them out. So, Illuminor Sezrat's only has 7 wounds, also not valid target while he's near the Lich Guard.
Nice.
So that little combo between those 3, you're going to give people a bad day, right? Flayed Ones, told you they got a boost. You can put 20 in a unit, same as Necron Warriors. They have 3 attacks each. They're Strength 4, AP -1. An enemy unit within 3 inches of them subtract 2 from their leadership.
Ooh.
Remember that Psycho Monster we had earlier on? You combine those 2 guys, your Space Marines now have a leadership of 6, and they're running away on a 1 or a 2.
Nice.
The Flayed Ones combined with the Psycho Monster is a whole strategy right
I'll
there.
be too. They're creepy.
Yeah, right? They're really good. And every time they make a melee attack against not vehicles, any 6s get an extra attack. So, again, there's lots of ways to get extra attacks and bonuses to hit. The Flayed Ones are pretty good. The problem is they're still elite. We were hoping they'd be troops, and they're not.
Yeah.
And they're not even core. I know, so sad. Death Marks are core units, which is huge.
Yeah,
These guys are beefy. You can take a unit of 10 of them. They now have a ballistic skill of 2 or higher, toughness 5, 1 wound each, and reanimation protocols. So these are good. They're going to come back. Plus, every time you pick a target for this weapon, you can ignore the Lookout Serval. They can target characters. And unmodified wound rolls of 6, inflict a mortal wound, 36-inch range, heavy 1, strength 5, AP -2.
Wait, the rule that ignores that you can target character called Lookout, sir?
Yes.
Lookout, sir?
Yes. That's exactly what it is. They don't care about that. They're going to zap you anyway. And these guys can teleport. So,
Nice.
Yep, that's pretty good. Crypto Thralls, we all know what they do. They release them in Indomitus. Eve loves these. They don't take up any slots. Remember these guys?
Yeah, I don't. They always backfire on me.
What? Toughness
Yes.
5, 2 wounds. These things are
Oh, wait,
amazing.
no, my bad. I'm thinking about that destroyer little.
Yeah, no.
Sorry.
The plasma slide.
Yeah,
No, these are the
this was a
badasses.
Good,
Yeah.
It's so little, but so vicious.
Yeah, that's exactly it. If they're within 6 inches of a Cryptek, then they have a weapon skill and biscuit of 3+, and their attack characteristic goes up to 6.
Yeah, they're Cryptek little bodyguards. They good. They good. Sorry, I got confused.
Exactly. If they're nearby, you can't target a Cryptek, and they're completely free. So,
Okay.
Yeah, so they're
Sweet.
amazing. All right. The Scorpek Destroyers, pretty much exactly the same as they were in Indomitus. No big change. 5 power level, pretty cheap. The
This one's
Plasma
where the-
Sight is the guy that backfires on you.
I like
Yeah, so you can have 1 Plasma Sight for everyone, and they don't take up a slot. People can't shoot this guy unless it's the closest. He dies if he's not within 6 inches. On a 1, yeah, he kills the model, same as before. Otherwise, +1 strength, +1 attack to the Scorpeks. You can put up to 6 Scorpeks in a unit now. That's pretty good. If you have 6 Scorpeks with the Plasma Sight, that's huge.
Yeah,
Then you've
sure.
got the Triarch Stalker, not too much different there. Yeah, everyone gets... they can reroll hit rolls of 1 if he targets them. The Quantum Shield is very different. The Quantum Shield is now a 5-up invulnerable save,
Yep.
and wound rolls of 1 to 3 don't count.
That's awesome.
Okay, C'tan. Some bad news about the C'tan, the Shard of the Deceiver. First of all, let's start looking at the power levels. 18.
I don't remember what he was before.
They're like 8. Yeah, they
That's a lot.
boosted the power level.
You did the math for me, so I wasn't sure.
Yeah. He's got 9 wounds, toughness 7, strength 6. I think his strength got reduced as well. I think he was strength 7
I
before.
think they've had less wounds before as well, too.
Yeah, I think he had less wounds, but a lot higher strength. Ballistic
Yeah,
skill,
so
weapon
it
skill of
was-
2. He's got the Golden Fists, AP -3 that do 3 damage. Grand Illusion. Good news. Doesn't affect D3 units, affects 3 units. Good news. They don't have to be core units. Bad news. They have to redeploy within your deployment zone. Or you can put them into strategic reserves. Okay, next up. Enslaved Star God. He can never have a Relic or a Warlord trait. And in addition, enemy models can ignore the Lookout Serval when selecting this target. You can target the C'tan.
Oh.
Yeah. Misdirection. Every time somebody attacks him, they get -1 to hit.
Oh, okay.
The big benefit, he has a 4-up invulnerable save, and he can't lose more than 3 wounds in a turn. And when he's destroyed, he blows up on 4-up, doing D3 mortal wounds. C'tan Shard of the Nightbringer. Here we go.
Here we go. Hold on a second.
This is the guy. We like this guy. Okay. Shard of the Nightbringer. This bad boy has strength 7, toughness 7, 9 wounds, 6 attacks, weapon skill 2+, ballistic skill 2+. The Scythe of the Nightbringer can either do the sweep or the entropic blow. The sweep allows him to have 12 attacks at strength 7, AP -3, doing 1 damage each. The entropic blow is 6 attacks at strength 14, AP -4, D6 damage each, and no invulnerables can be saved against him.
Yeah.
In addition, he has something called Drain Life, which means close combat attacks, you cannot ignore any of the wounds they lose. Cannot ignore any wound they lose. This is really interesting.
Sorry.
No problem. Because he actually, as far as I read, turns off his own ability that means he can only lose 3 wounds a turn.
Huh.
He also turns off Feel No Pain. I mean, this guy could take out Ghazghkull Thraka. He could take out a lot of models that now have that rule they can't lose more than 3 wounds a turn. So, he's up there. Bless you. Other than that, he's got the same special rule in Slave Guard God. They give him Living Metal as well, so he does regenerate a wound every turn.
Cthulhu's can do that.
Yeah, and
That's
he's
great.
got the 2 powers, and he can use 2
Yeah.
C'tan powers that he knows.
Definitely get this from my army.
Yeah, so, and you've already got the model.
Yeah.
We've got the Shard of the Void Dragon. Games Workshop kind of already spilled exactly what this guy does. We'll have a quick look at him. He's got the
Living Metal
Necrodermis. He's got Living Metal. He's got Matter Absorption. At the end of every phase, roll a dice for every vehicle destroyed by this guy. And roll a dice on a 2-up, you regain 1 wound up to 3 wounds. So he heals from killing vehicles. If you follow the whole theory that maybe the Void Dragon is what lives on Mars, that would make sense, because he likes killing vehicles. And then he's got a shooting attack, 1-shot, strength 9. And if a hit is scored, you draw a straight line between this model and the target, and make 1 wound roll against every unit in the line. If it's a vehicle, it's D3 plus 3 damage. Yeah. I thought you'd like that.
It's like a raid.
Yeah. He gets D6 extra attacks at strength 6, AP -2 in close combat, and his spear in close combat is 5 attacks at strength 9, AP -4, D6, and when he picks vehicles, it does D3 plus 3 instead of D6. So he's a vehicle killer. All right, let's keep going. We've got the Transcendent C'tan. This is the generic C'tan. And he'll have a fractured personality. You pick an ability that he's going to have for the game, or you can roll and get 2. He can either have, at the end of the movement phase, if he didn't advance or fall back, he can use an extra power. Or he can have immune to natural law. The wound rolls of 1 to 3 always fail. Or he can have a save of 3+. Or he can gain the dimensional translocation ability. He can teleport. Or he can have an attacks characteristic of 6 instead of 5 and a strength of 7.
Okay.
Or he can have Writhing Worldscape at the start of movement phase, roll a dice for every enemy model with an engagement roll, and on a 4 of the engagement range, and on a 4-up they take a mortal wound. In addition, when anyone charges him, they take away 2. He knows 2 powers, and he can cast 1 of them. So, once upon a time he was really good. I don't know if he's really that good anymore. The Cryptek Spider. He's got the Scarab Hive. He's pretty much the same, not too much different there, but the Scarab Hive, in your command phase, 1 destroyed model from every friendly Cryptek Scarab Swarm within 6 inches is reanimated. So you can reanimate them. Then we've got the Scarab Swarms, they're fast attack. The big thing these guys got, there's a stratagem that lets them blow up. So that's
cool.
about it there. Let's move into these last few units. The Ophidian Destroyers, the new ones, we've already seen those from Games Workshop. I won't bore you with them. The main thing is this is a slightly cheaper, different type of destroyer. That are like close combat again, but they have lots of little attacks rather than some big attacks. Their Hyper Phase Reap Blade will give them a strength of 6, but only for every 3 models, only 1 gets it. So something worth noting. Then we've got the Tomb Blades, almost exactly the same as before, no big change. Everything about them is the same. They're going to get the benefit of the command protocols, but they are core, worth noting. The Triad Praetorians, not core, so that's something worth saying there. They're still pretty much the same in close combat. They're strength 5, AP -3, 2 damage, and they can shoot at 12 inches, strength 5, AP -3, and 2 damage. They've got movement at 10 though, and they fly.
Nice.
So they kind of like teleport over the board. The Cryptek Wraith, these are the models that everyone used to love in close combat. They used to have a 3-up invulnerable save. They now have a 4-up invulnerable save. Which is kind of where the game is. I think they're moving away from a 3-up invulnerable save, and they can teleport through things. Cool. So, but 4 attacks at, what's the strength? Strength 6, AP -2, 2 damage each, with the Vicious Claws. So, pretty good. Got the Annihilation Barge, kind of similar to what we had before, except it's got the new quantum shielding. The Doomsday Arc, I love this thing, is almost exactly the same. Nothing different there except the new quantum shielding.
What is in red, though?
Because those numbers change. In the new rule, the red numbers are the ones that change.
Oh, okay.
He's got 14 wounds, pretty interesting. Then we've got the Locust Destroyers. You can see they use the original Heavy Destroyers here. Note, you can take 1 to 6 Locust Destroyers and 0 to 1 Heavy Destroyers. Before it was 1 to 6 and 1 could be a Heavy Destroyer. They all have the Gorse Cannon, and the Heavy Destroyer can have a Gorse Destructor. And then there's the Locust Heavy Destroyer can switch its Gorse Destructor for an Enmitic Exterminator. So the Gorse Cannon, 24 inches, heavy 3, strength 6, AP -3, D3 wounds. So that's pretty good. And then the Heavy Destroyer will either have the Gorse Destructor, which is 1 shot, strength 10, AP -4, 3D3, or 3D3 shots, strength 7, AP -1, 1 damage. That is a blast weapon, which is going to do a lot more against lots of. So you get a bit more choice.
Interesting.
Yep. They don't get any penalty to hit rolls for moving and firing heavy weapons, and they reroll 1s to hit.
Well, they have living metal too, though.
And they've got living
That's
metal.
Great.
Instead of reanimation protocols, they regain a wound a turn. So.
We'll see.
And that ability to let you gain 2 wounds a turn could be interesting. So it's different. The Locust Heavy Destroyers, you can take 1 to 3 Heavy Destroyers, and you can just have that. They've got living metal as well.
Yes.
In fact, the vehicles have living metal as well. There's a lot of living metal.
Vehicles usually have living
The
metal.
Fidden Destroyers have living metal. The Tomb Blades have living metal.
They do?
Well, this is interesting.
This is the response to...
Instead of reanimation, everyone's got living metal. So that's pretty fascinating. I just want to confirm that living metal works exactly the way that I think it does. At the start of your command phase, everyone regains 1 wound. Well, there you go. The multi-wound models now have living metal. That's worth noting. The Ghost Arc. This is basically the same, but the Repair Barge. In your command phase, pick 1 friendly Necron Warriors unit and get D3 models back. Each unit can only be selected once per phase. So that's pretty cool. The Kinetic Doomstalker, this is that one everyone's talking about. It's the alternate, the one that shoots. So pretty cool. It's got a Doomsday Blaster, D6 strength 10 shots, AP -5, D6. You can only fire that if it stays still, otherwise it has to do the strength 8 version. It's got Ballistic 4+ though, so it's not super attractive at shooting.
No, that's best for me.
Yeah, I thought so. It's got a 4-up invulnerable save, and it can fire... it can fire Overwatch as if it was a target of a charge, even if it wasn't charged. So, somewhat interesting. Not as cool as I wanted it to be. And then you've got the 2 flyers, which are essentially the same. I don't think there's anything big to that. I will say the stratagem for the flyer that lets you do mortal wounds isn't around anymore. So, or at least I didn't see it anyway. There was one that let them do. If you have 3 of them, it let you do the mortal wound cross-up. I looked for it. I didn't see it. I may have missed it because I was excited to go through it all, but I don't remember seeing it. I'm going to have another check just to see, but I'm pretty sure. There we go. So here's what we've got. The new one is 1 command point. When a Doom Scythe is selected to shoot, after you select the target unit for the Death Ray, pick 1 enemy unit within 3 inches of the target. It can be the same target. The enemy can either brace or duck for cover. If it braces and it's not a vehicle or monster, it takes D3 mortal wounds. If it ducks for cover, then until the end of the turn, subtract 1 from the attack's characteristics of models, and they can't fire Overwatch or set to defend. So basically they can choose to either get mortal wounds or hide. It's 1 command point, it's D3 mortal wounds, and they can choose not to take them. So, not that good at all. So there we are. Next up, we've got Obelisk. The Obelisk is like the bad Tesseract Vault. It's 19 power level. It's got Tesla spheres, which really aren't that great. There's no difference there. It can deep strike in. If it stays still, then it becomes Assault 6, Strength 8, Damage 2, which is a boost. And then it's got a Gravity Pulse. In the shooting phase, pick 1 enemy unit that flies within 24 inches, half its movement characteristic. If it's an aircraft, roll 2 dice. And for every number that you roll above their toughness, they take a mortal wound. But you can only use that once per phase. But that's pretty good. I mean, rolling 2d6 against a toughness 7 vehicle, you're going to average 7, but if you roll a 9 or a 10, it's going to do some serious damage. Tesseract Vault, pretty much what you expect it to be. It's now got 30 wounds. I don't think it had that before. It was 20-something before.
Yeah. It was
Bliss skill 3+. Toughness 7 though, which I think actually might be the same. I don't think it was over toughness 8. Blows up on a 4-up, 4-up and vulnerable save. Does 3 powers of the C'tan every turn. So pretty good. And then we have the Monolith. This is the beast. This is what everyone's going to be using. The Monolith, 24 wounds, toughness 8, ballistic skill 3+, and a 2-up save. This is what you want to see. This is a knight, without a doubt. It doesn't have an invulnerable save. However, it does have 4 death rays, which is 4 shots, strength 9, AP -3, D3 +3 damage. This thing is going to average 3 of those hitting a turn, probably 2 or 3 of them wounding.
Yeah.
This is going to be dishing out like 6 to 7 to 9 wounds a turn. I mean, a lot. It can teleport in. You can drop it in and then start having it firing. It's got the Eternity Gate. In the movement phase, if it remains stationary, then in the reinforcement step, it can summon a unit. If it does, pick a core infantry unit, Lich Guard, from your army that is in strategic reserves. Put them anywhere on the battlefield within 3 inches of this model and not within engagement range of enemy models. Do you understand? Not 9 inches away, not within engagement range.
But they have to be in the reserves, so they can teleport them from directly in the battle, right?
So, in the new game, you can just pay a command point and put anything in reserves.
Oh, gotcha.
Mm-hmm.
From the battlefield?
Before the game.
Before the game, gotcha.
Yeah, so you can
So
say
I gotta think which unit I want to be teleported that way and stand them aside.
Absolutely. Now, there's a lot you can do with this. So, for example, I can have a squad of Lich Guard in strategic reserves. Now, it's worth mentioning the Deceiver can put 3 things in strategic reserves. That's what his new ability is, for free, without paying command points.
Okay.
So he can put on the battlefield, pay nothing, and just take 3 units and put them in strategic reserve.
Gotcha. So then just to teleport, he can take them out of the board as well.
Correct.
Okay.
But wait, he does that on the first turn. So what your Deceiver could do is you could set your whole army up on the board, and then with your Deceiver, you got 2 monoliths, you pick up 2 squads of Lich Guard. And then your Scorpek Destroyer uses Veil of Darkness, and on turn 1, teleports some Lich Guard and the Scorpek Destroyer right in front of your opponent's face as a pair of monoliths moves up and starts zapping with strength 9. In the next turn, your opponent's dealing with a Scorpek Lord and Lich Guard in his face, and he's got a pair of Titans coming towards him with their 2-up save. 2-up save is really important because plasma guns or las cannons give you AP -3, which is a 5-up, which is actually like a 5-up invulnerable save.
Yeah.
Except you can't get cover bonuses on a 2-up on a invulnerable save. You can on a 2-up. So if you can give this thing cover, it becomes a 1-up save, and you've actually got a 4-up against like las cannons. So worth mentioning, sometimes invulnerable saves aren't what you want, right?
Yeah.
So now, in the next turn, these monoliths are like near your opponent, and they both activate their Eternity Gate, and now your 2 Lich Guards who are in strategic reserves are now also in your opponent's deployment zone. So, there are different moves, that's what I'm going to say.
Sure.
It's a different game, a whole different game. Then we have the Silent King and the Conversion of Poop. I mean, the Convergence of Dominion. This thing sucks. I'm sorry. I don't like this thing. It sucks. So, let's talk about this, because the Silent King is probably the best things that ever happened to the Necrons. The Convergence of Dominion is just sucky. Okay, it's got Living Metal and Command Protocols. Okay, whatever. The Convergence of Dominion, when it's set up on the battlefield, they don't have to be in coherency. They can be within 12 inches of each other. But then after that, they count as a separate unit, right? Whatever. Their gun is 12-inch range. Remember, they can only be set up in your deployment zone. They can't move, and they've got a 12-inch range. Great if your opponent wants to wander around your deployment zone, and you'll be doing a lot of damage with your D3 shots at strength 4. D3 shots, strength 4, AP -3, 3 damage. I mean, what are you targeting with that? I'm really going to kill infantrymen and do 3 damage to an infantryman, or not damage a vehicle because of my strength of 4. It's just not a good profile. And then the whole benefit is your protocols normally only affect models within 6 inches of a character. Within 6 inches of these guys, it works. Now, you can, if you want, take a Cryptek who is within 3 inches of one of these units, and then that Cryptek can skip his entire turn in order to move this into reinforcements, enabling it to teleport somewhere else on the battlefield. So in order for me to be able to use my protocol in my opponent's deployment zone, I have 2 options. I can either pay 6 power level or however many points for the Convergence of Dominion, put it in my deployment zone, assign a Cryptek to it, then waste my Cryptek's first turn to teleport the thing off the board so that in my second turn, it arrives in their deployment zone so I can get protocols within 6 inches of it. Or I can take a Cryptek with a movement of 12 and just fly into my opponent's deployment zone and do the same thing, and he can't be targeted because he's Cryptek.
Yeah, sure.
I don't know what this does. I don't understand it. I don't know why it's good. I'm sorry, I don't like it. It looks cool. I would use it for terrain. Oh, and then the Silent King. This guy is everything that Necrons have ever wanted. So first of all, he fills in the command. It's like a command detachment. When you take a character in a command detachment, he refunds another detachment. So you take this guy, and he refunds a patrol or a battalion. He can't go in it because he's a Lord of War,
Nice.
but he doesn't need to. He goes in the Supreme Command detachment. When you take him, he's got living metal and command protocols, which is what you'd expect. He's got 16 wounds, toughness 7. He's going to regain a wound a turn. However, he gives you 3 command points just for taking him. So most games, if you're playing with, most people have like 12 command points in a 2,000 point battle.
Yeah.
You're going to start with 15 command points because of him. Yeah, he's beefy.
Nice.
He can deny psychic powers as if he was a psyker. At the start of the fight phase, if anyone's in his engagement range, no one can fight until he fights. He fights first.
Okay.
In fact, none of their units within engagement range of him can fight until everything is fought against them first.
Okay.
Next up, when a core unit or Triarch Praetorian is within 6 inches of him, any range attack, you can reroll the hit rolls. So if he's surrounded by Immortals, they're rerolling failed hits.
Nice.
While a Necron's core or Praetorian unit is within 6 inches of him, and a melee attack, reroll the wound roll. So reroll hit rolls for shooting, wound rolls for close combat. Relentless March. Necron core or Triarch within 6 inches of him, they get +1 to their movement. My Will Be Done, we know what that does, add 1 to the hit roll. He can use My Will Be Done twice. Voice of the Triarch, once per battle at the start of any battle round, if he's on the battlefield, he can alter your command protocol. If he does, the command protocol that you did not assign to any battle round becomes the one that you assigned. So the 6th one can come in and that becomes the one you assigned. Triarchal Menhir, while he contains any of his Menhir models, he's got these 2 things that come with him, these like statues. He doesn't count as a character for the purposes of Lookout Sir, and every time an attack successfully wounds this unit, the attack must be allocated to one of those models. So basically they have to target the Menhirs first, and you ignore their destruction for morale. If he is ever destroyed, the Menhirs die automatically. He has a 4-up invulnerable save. If he has 8 or fewer wounds, he can't attack with his Staff of Stars, and he loses the Farron of Stars ability. If he has 4 or more wounds, he loses the Scythe of Dust and the Farron of Blades. When he's destroyed, roll a dice and the 4-up he explodes. In terms of close combat and how good he is, 6 attacks, strength 5, but he's probably going to use the Scepter of Eternal Glory, which will actually be strength 9, AP -3 and 2 damage. I think the real reason you take this guy is the boosted command points, is the auras that let you re-roll things, is the fact that he is an impressive model that people will get scared of. And yeah, that's really what it is. I don't think you're going to send it. He's not going to be a Robot Gilliman going into your opponent's deployments on killing things, although he probably could. I think the reality is this guy is going to be an aura buffing dude, and you're going to sit him on something and be beefy. And that's about it. There's a whole bunch of points. Again, you guys, GamesDocs have asked us not to give away everything inside the book, and we've been going for a while. These are the points. I think things that are probably worth mentioning are the Necron Warriors, which I'll talk about. Where's the Necron Warriors? There they are. 13 points a model. The Immortals are 17 points a model, or 19 if you take the Tesla Carbine. I think most people take Gauss nowadays because a lot of the abilities tend to boost the rapid fire weapons. And that's it. There's a really cool rules reference. And I think the coolest thing is at the back of the book, which I'm not going to show, I nearly did, which is a digital code. And if you use that digital code, you can add it to your digital your digital app for free, and you get a digital version of the book.
Yeah, that's awesome.
So, Eve, what do you think?
Well, I think it's very different. I have a lot of things to learn and a lot of variables to consider and playtest. But we'll see. I'll make it work.
So there we are. We're going to play a lot of games. I hope you guys enjoyed it. Codex Necrons, there it is. We're super excited for it. We've shown you a whole bunch of stuff. If you've got questions about it, please leave them in the comments below. And we've got the book to hand, and we'll try and answer them.
Okay, guys, so here we are. I'm here with Dakota. Yeah! And we are going to go through the one and only Space Marine Codex.
Yo soy el deck.
So we've been waiting to go through this with you guys. We can finally do it right now. It's literally like the legal time that we can. So
Yes. So
we're sharing this immediately.
okay. So right away, right off the bat, some of you probably knew about some of the changes coming. Some of you will be a little surprised by some of the things that have changed. First off, company command. You are now limited to 1 captain per detachment and 2 lieutenants per detachment. Shouldn't surprise you too much, but yes, sorry, the Smash Captain Fun Fest is over unless you want to start taking extra detachments.
Oh my god.
Which is kind of probably really about time. So all this stuff still applies. You still get your chapter tactics applied to everything that is not a servitor or a beast.
Mm-hmm.
Pretty much an edge case. The people that really care are going to be obviously servitors and space wolves with their wolf dogs. So we got that. So right away, chapter tactics.
Chapter tactics. What are the big 3 ones you've seen?
Big 3. A lot of the stuff stayed the same, but the big 3. First off, big one. A lot of you probably already know it. Is Dark Angels, Grim Resolve. This is huge. Being able to stand still and you get +1 to your hit rolls. And which is really interesting is it applies for the whole turn. It does not count consolidation moves or pile-ins. So if you stood still and somebody charges you, you get +1 to hit. If you just stood still and you shoot, you get +1 to hit. Which almost gives you like a weird Space Wolves-esque thing, like when you stand still if somebody charges you.
That's so... Oh my god, that's strong.
It's really, really good. They get to, they get to ignore combat attrition tests, which is nice. It's, you can only lose like 1 dude to morale, which is not, with nothing to sneer at. It's nice if you want to take bigger units.
Mm-hmm.
But moreover, the big one is that changed their doctrine. The +1 to hit is really, really strong. So right away, that's a really good one.
Yeah.
The other change worth mentioning, that I think is going to make some players a little upset is the Salamanders trait has changed just a little bit. It's not bad now, but it's not as good as it was.
Yeah.
You still get to ignore AP1, which is nice.
Yeah.
But now instead, it used to be that each unit got to reroll 1 hit roll and reroll 1 wound roll. Now you just get to reroll a wound roll. And for those of you that are hoping to game the system and choose the successor tactic, Master Artisans, which used to be the same thing, that has changed as well. Now it is you just reroll a hit. So if you want to reroll hit rolls, you're going to go for a successor and take that trait. And if you're rerolling, if you're going for the wound roll, it's going to be Salamanders. So you can't do both anymore.
Yeah. They
Sorry.
Toned them down a little.
Just a little. The other big change, especially for probably people that are more into the competitive scene, is the change to Raven Guard. Raven Guard is a bit different now. For example, now it's tied to, because now terrain and cover really matters. So, for example, now if you're 18 inches away, everything gets the benefit of light cover. So that's the +1 to your save. Much like it used to be, right? I think the draw distance is a little different. It used to be 12 inches. Now you have to be a little further away at 18, I think. But that's okay. Nothing too big. Now this is the big one that changes, which is now, it used to be that whenever an infantry unit that is entirely within a terrain feature, they get the -1 to hit. And like you have to be 12 inches away and entirely within a terrain feature, but that's still really, really strong.
Yeah.
See, now it's tied to, now it still works the same way, except now they are treated as having the benefits of dense cover, which still gives you a -1, but it matters because now there's interaction with it. Before you just had to be close enough to ignore that. Now any ability that lets you just ignore cover cuts right through that -1.
Oh my god.
So it does tone Raven Guard down a little. I still think they're going to be pretty strong, but the factions that have a lot of ways to ignore cover, or any unit that has that ability, will get to just, as rules as written here, will be able to potentially just ignore that. Which can be really, really useful.
Yeah.
Everything else, though, is much the same. The other change here, unless it gets FAQ'd, is the Black Templars.
Mm-hmm.
Black Templars here, and this is, now you can reroll advanced rolls and charge rolls. Now, with the way that rerolling works, you have to reroll both die, and they did not get any special wording to let them reroll one or the other. It used to be, like, up until recently, they got to do one or the other. It's like, oh, if you rolled a 6 on one die, you can reroll the one that rolled like a 2 or a 1.
Yeah.
Now you have to pick up both die and re-roll them again.
Oh my god.
So a bit of a nerf. They still get to ignore mortal wounds at a 5-up. So not bad. Not too bad. Nice in a psychic matchup.
Yeah.
Especially since they can't bring psychers. And that's staying the same. So you have that. So moving on, that was chapter tactics. Successor tactics are much the same. A lot of them have just been reworded to work with the new edition. Certain things, now that like Indomitable now cares about combat attrition tests. A lot of it just kind of switching around things so they work better with the new 9th edition rules. But a lot of the stuff you loved about their successor traits are still here, including Inheritors of the Primarch, if you just want to make your own chapter but have them run the same way as their parent chapter. So you have that as well. Moving on, we have, now this is another big change that I think is worth mentioning, which is now, and they teased this recently, now you get to, if you want a like upgraded character like a chapter master, you now pay for it in points.
Nice.
So now you now pay points for the upgrades. Before you like it was command points. Now it's just points, which I think I like a bit more, or power level if you're playing power level. But there are some changes to how some of these abilities work that are absolutely important to mention. For one, there's a lot of keyword switches. Now, obviously, a lot of this stuff only affects units that are core, which we'll get into later. But moreover, as well, and I think this is a big one that I have to point out as far as my big picks to mention, is the change to Chapter Masters. Specifically, now it says, Chapter Master, in your command phase, select one friendly chapter core or character unit within 6 inches of the model until the start of your next command phase. Each time a model in that unit makes an attack, you can reroll the hit roll. So, no, it used to be that it was just a 6-inch buff aura, and everybody in it got to just reroll their hit rolls. It didn't matter what they were, or who, or whatever, as long as they were close enough, they got to do it all the time. Now, you only get to choose one unit, and it has to be a character or a core unit. That's a huge change. Now, you do still get some... Yeah, that's going to be a massive change.
That changes kind of everything with army design.
Yeah, certainly with the way a lot of people were running Space Marines, it was pretty standard to see a chapter master or equivalent on the board, and you would have them pretty much sitting around a bunch of backline units just farming rerolls all day.
Dark Angels.
Yeah, Dark Angels. At least now, I'd say with the new chapter tactic, getting full rerolls is not nearly as important. So we'll have to see how that changes. But yes, now you just get to get certain upgrades, like the Chief Librarian. It's only like 25 points, but they know an extra power, they get an extra deny. You get access to a new table of like a special like Warlord trait or relics. The Master of the Codex one is for the Chapter Master is actually really good. For example, it basically if it's your Warlord and they're on the battlefield, roll a d6 in your command phase. On a 4, you gain a command point. So it's just a way you have a 50% chance to get 2 command points at the start of your turn instead of 1. As long as they're alive, which is pretty good. It's not bad. It's not bad at all. Master Sanctity, you get basically you get option to get more consistent prayers, and you get to do an extra one, which is really nice for those who like to spam chaplains. And once again, the Librarian. Another big change here is the Apothecary, and I saw this tied in. It looks like they're getting a bit of a rework. For example, the Chief Apothecary upgrade lets them just give a unit 3 wounds back automatically. For the healing thing. In addition, it mentions that that combat revival stratagem is a thing. So it looks like you will no longer just roll to see if you bring a model back to life. It looks like it's tied to a command. It's like to a stratagem. On the flip side, Chief Apothecary can just do it for free. So not bad. But yeah, Chapter Ancient, Chapter Champion work much in the same way. Their banner, the Chapter banner is a little better on the Ancient. Actually, I like it more. It used to just be, wait, what was it? Oh, yeah. You basically just get to add 1 to the attack's hit roll. So, actually, no, that's exactly the same. Still really, really solid. Really good. I like... there's still some good options in here.
Here we are in the stratagems.
Yep, now we're in the...
So, there's a lot to dive in here. I mean, we have 4 pages of stratagems. We can't dive into everything. One, because, Games Workshop doesn't really want us to dive into every little thing.
Yes,
but
they still want you to buy the book.
What would you say are, like, the big 3 that you need to pay attention to?
The big 3, there's so much stuff that changed here. I will say there's a lot of stuff in here that was here before. Like your rapid fire stuff, a lot of that's just staying the same, including Hero of the Chapter, Relic of the Chapter. Like if you like to bring a lot of characters and relics, you still have that option. That's not changing.
I know you got pretty excited about transhuman physiology.
Yes, it's a small, subtle change, and actually that's a good one to talk about because it was used quite a bit. Actually, I'd say it's a really good stratagem. Before it was 2 command points, pick a unit. They cannot wound you on 1, 2s, or 3s. Unmodified rolls of 1, 2, 3s just fail automatically. So really nice. Now it's a little more granular. So now it's if the unit has, what was it, 5 or fewer models, basically, you get to do it for 1 CP. Now, keep in mind, though, this doesn't delineate just 5 or fewer models. So units like Centurions that, you could just, they could come in sets of 3s. Aggressors come in sets of 3.
Yeah.
Basically, you can use this to get, to use that on, really efficiently on big, scary units. So that's actually really cool. So now it is still 2 CP on a larger unit, but if it's 5 or less,
take it.
It's only 1 CP, which
That's
is
nice.
really great. So we have that. We have so many cool stuff. You honestly have. Now there is something interesting here, and I have not seen any clarification on in the book, which is that there's like different classes of stratagems. Like you have epic deed stratagems, and then battle tactic stratagems, and then requisition stratagems. I haven't seen anything on what this means. If there's some limitations to what they are and what you can use and when, we'll have to wait and see.
Yeah.
But still, there's that. You have Smokescreen, which is another big change. Smokescreen is a pretty interesting one. So Smokescreen is, before it was just a war gear option. Like vehicles would give up a whole turn of shooting to use it. It was a free war gear option, but you still had to sacrifice shooting to be able to do it. Same thing with some of the Phobos units that came with smoke grenades. Now it's just a 1 CP strat, and you use it in your opponent's shooting phase, which means it does not turn off a unit shooting, which means you can use it reactively, because whenever the unit is selected as the target, so your opponent can choose the target, and then you can, basically in response, pay 1 CP and put a -1 to hit modifier on it, which I think is actually pretty good. I actually really like it. It's great because Dreadnoughts come with smoke screens, a lot of the tanks do, which means you can effectively just kind of like juke your opponent out when it's a lot like lightning reflexes that the Eldar use to basically jank people out there. Another one is interesting is that Melt-A-Bombs are now strat, not a war gear, but it's strictly better. Yes, it is 1 CP to use it, but the Melt-A-Bomb, now basically you can use it in the fight phase.
Yeah.
Right. So it's not a thrown grenade anymore. Use it in the fight phase, and you have to target a vehicle, but you just attack with it. It's 1 attack. Make the attack. If the hit is scored, the unit suffers 2d3 mortal wounds, which is really good. Which means on average you're usually averaging out around like 4 mortal wounds, which is good for 1 CP. I really like it. So, and then you have a ton of other stuff in here.
I know this one, we said top 3, but this one got you pretty excited too, which was the suppression fire for the whirlwinds.
Yes. Yeah, that was, I just like that one. It's mainly the suppression fire, mostly talking about how it's changed. Because before it was like basically fire twice. Now it's a little different. So some people will be a little upset about it. It's only 1 CP. But now, basically, you can use it to turn off Overwatch or keep your opponent from able to set to defend in defensible terrain. In addition, you get to knock them back. They basically cannot be selected to fight until all eligible units from your army have done so, which can be really useful if you know you're going to be in a sustained combat or you're going up against something that gets to always fight first, like Slaneshi units, some Eldar stuff as well that always just has just a rule that says this unit fights first, even if it didn't charge. So instead of your opponent being able to kind of jank you out with that, you can basically use suppression fire to bring that back down, which matters because now when it's your turn, your opponent technically gets the first pick. It's to reward people that charge in, so then on the following turn they get to pick the first combat.
Wow.
So this kind of actually will help you get around that. So if you know you're going to be stuck for another round of combat, you can fire this off and basically keep them pinned down in a sense and keep them fighting after you.
That's cool.
So still super useful. Hellfire shells are here, except they're strictly better as well. Now it's if you shoot them at something with a monster keyword, they just do 3 mortal wounds, which is really consistent for, that's really great, actually.
Yeah.
So D3 mortal wounds against everything else. Against a monster, it's pay 1 CP. If you hit them, 3 mortal wounds. Woo! So a nice way to shave off the last couple wounds on, like, arcana effects. It's annoying. There's
a lot.
There's too much to even talk about or even be allowed to talk about, but there are 4 pages of these.
Yeah.
And
same with Warlord traits. There's just so much in this. It's so rich.
Yeah. It's great.
Yeah.
It's great. Some of the stuff is very similar to what you've seen before. And once again, it's been like tweaked a bit to work with the new edition. Like Fear Made Manifest, before it was just like subtract 2 from leadership, which didn't really do much. It never mattered. Nobody ever took it unless they were just doing something for fun or doing a goofy leader bomb stratagem, like little strategy. So now though, it seems a bit better. For one, it only subtracts 1 from leadership of models within that are like within 6 inches. But what makes it interesting is each time a combat attrition test is taken for the unit, subtract 1 from the combat attrition test.
Oh.
So that means that units that are not at half strength are gonna run away on a 1 or a 2 on the attrition roll, but units that are below half strength are going to run away on 1, 2s, and 3s, which means 50% of the time they bolt, which is actually a pretty suddenly, like, trying to figure out a leadership shenanigan is actually a pretty interesting prospect. It could actually be pretty entertaining, and especially if we see more abilities like this that actually alter the combat attrition roll itself, it could be something really cool to see.
Wow.
So we have that. And we have just a whole list of stuff. Once again, you have Stealth Adept, which is actually kind of a new one. It's a new-ish. It's been reworked, and I actually kind of like it, because unless the Warlord is the closest edible target, enemy models cannot target it with ranged attacks. Now, before, this would have been a completely pointless ability because of how character targeting used to work, where if they weren't the closest, you just couldn't. But now that they have to be close to an actual unit with, like, 3 or more models...
Yeah.
Now that they actually had to do that, like, they can't. That's not a viable option anymore. But now this lets you basically play characters that your Warlord like it was 8th edition.
Wow.
So it's a small thing, but it seems like nice. So if you know you're gonna have a character that's kind of like setting off doing some other random thing, it's not bad. I don't hate it.
That's pretty good.
But then you have the chapter-specific Warlord traits. One that's worth mentioning that's gotten once again seen a big change. Dark Angels, Brilliant Strategist. Now, in your command phase, you basically get to pick a unit within 6, and you get to count the Doctrine as being one, basically walk it back 1 turn for a particular unit. So if it's the Assault Doctrine, so if it's like the Tactical Doctrine, you get to pick a unit, and then for them it counts as being the Devastator.
Wow.
Which can be really nice if you need a unit to, like, get the extra bonuses from Devastator Doctrine. You can just kind of knock it, you have that one squad of, like, Hellblasters, get that little boost, which is really, really nice. But a lot of the stuff is very much the same. Stuff that you'll see that's very, very similar, like the Architect of War, which I think is actually pretty solid. But yeah, you have a lot of really, really cool stuff here. Ultramarines Adept of the Codex is still whatever it was, which is still is and always will be a good Warlord trait. Whenever you spend a command point to use Strat, roll a d6 on a 5-up, you get it back. Just useful. Just nice to have.
Yep. So, and then Relics.
There's a lot of stuff here. Most of it's just been updated or altered to compensate for the changes. For example, the Shield Eternal now gives you a 4-up invulnerable save, and add 1 to the armor saving throw like shields do, but it still gives you that sweet 5-up field note paying.
Yeah.
So if you want like I said, it's still what it was. It just now gives a 4-up invul save and add 1 to your armor. Nowadays. So that's really just the change. Like I said, it's been tweaked to work with how Storm Shields are now, which is just the new way they are. 4 will save, add 1 to your armor. But yeah, a lot of it is very much the same and similar to what it once was. A lot of the really cool options are still here. Once again, they've just been tweaked, like the Honor Vehement now only affects core units within 6 inches of the bearer.
Yep. Gotta love that core keyword.
Yeah. You do, and it's going to make a difference for how a lot of people build their lists out and how they plan their game. Like their game strategy is going to change a lot based on what units are going to get benefits from auras and when and where they need to be.
Yeah.
So really big, but yeah. Otherwise, not a lot. Some stuff is remarkably similar, just worded differently. Some stuff has seen some small changes. Some stuff has seen some huge changes. Like the Librarius Discipline and the Obscuration Discipline are very much the same. Like the big important one, Null Zone. At least I think it's one of the bigger important ones. Null Zone is still what it once was. God,
there's so much in this book.
There is.
There's so much. You just keep looking at it.
Yeah.
What's funny is when I gave you this, you were like, okay, now where's the Codex?
Yeah, I know. He handed me this book, and I literally looked at him like, Dude, I think you I think you grabbed the rule book. Like, I think you grabbed the Warhammer rule book because this is too big to be a codex, and it wasn't. And I looked at it, I'm like, oh, it is. It's not a rule book. It's the actual codex. Because it had actually been so long since I'd seen the cover art, and I was like, wait. But yeah, it was just like just based off the size of it, I'm like, this isn't a codex. And it was. Sure enough, it was. So yeah, that's pretty. So a lot of the psychic stuff is very much the same. But you know, if it ain't broke, don't fix it.
Yeah.
Tenebra's Curse is still in here and still absolutely hilarious. So now we go on to our litanies. The litanies haven't really changed much. Like I said, the big change to them though would be that they only seem to apply to core units.
Mm-hmm.
So no more boosting up your like crazy repulsor executioner so that it gets like +1 to wound rolls or anything, or +1 to hit rolls. It's gonna be your core units only. Chapter approved rules. This is a nice little section that just gives you some other secondaries to run that only Space Marines will have access to, like Codex Warfare, Shock Tactics. Codex
That
Warfare,
stuff's so cool.
I think it's
like,
really cool.
The chapter approved like secondaries. This is kind of a big thing because this wasn't in the 8th edition one, right?
No, not even.
Yeah.
You kind of got it because everybody had their own special like Maelstrom rules.
Yep.
Which we're not really seeing anymore, which is fine because the Maelstrom rules, let's face it, Maelstrom, and I think they even tried running an ITC. Maelstrom was kind of hit or miss because then it's like if you rolled bad on something and it was like something you couldn't feasibly do, then you were just kind of out of luck.
Yep.
It was a little too random. I like the idea of picking secondaries a lot more. But yeah, this is really cool. We'll have to wait to see if this is going to end up being like tournament legal, if it's used in like tournament events. We'll have to wait and see. It does say it's for match play, so we'll wait and see. I think it's solid. You then, of course, have your Crusade rules. If you are a fan of
Crusade.
And
here's something cool to notice, right? So you have your match play rules here, 1 page. But when you open up to the Crusade rules, you have
tables and pages and
several pieces of content and rules to go with it. And it's kind of obvious. They want us to play Crusade. And honestly, I'm down to. It looks really fun.
It does, but moreover, I think this is going to be great for retailers, especially right now, because being a brick and mortar retailer, it's going to be especially difficult because of COVID. But I think this is actually really great for them, for like just retailers and just brick and mortar locations, specifically because this Crusade is going to be basically the new way to run an escalation league.
Yeah.
It really is. It's Escalation League Plus because it adds more flavor, more rules, better feeling of progression. Other than I just bought 500 more points for my army. It's like I just like oh, what's your army's progression? I bought some Hellblasters. No, it's going to add a more meaningful narrative thread to those. I feel like it's a great way to replace escalation leagues, and I feel like it's a potential toolbox to really help retailers, brick and mortar retailers.
And it really gives rules to fluff too, which is kind of one of the big things people
can sometimes get a little crotchety about.
Exactly. But it really does. It's amazing. So I'm really excited about that. That's a whole video in itself is crusading, but
yeah, that would honestly could be easily be its own thing. Now we're talking about warriors and weapon lists. Their abilities like Angel of Death's very much the same, and they know no fear. We all know Bolt or Discipline. It hasn't changed. Neither has a doctrine, so you're still locked in. You can still get Shock Assault, which is nice. Combat doctrines are still what they ever were. You are locked in on the turns. Like first turn is Devastator, then you've got to go to Tactical, and so on and so forth. And so yeah, nothing there has changed. It's all what we like and everything that's really, really similar and really nice. So otherwise, though, we have. So there's some of the different options. And actually, it's interesting because they talk about deployment abilities on their own little page. They didn't really go into detail. Now it's like Death from Above. It's its own thing. Concealed positions, outflank, teleport strike. So if you ever need to see that, you flip back and reference it. Fairly old school. Now, this is something interesting. So non-codex compliant chapters, because they had the chapter keyword.
Yep.
So historically, certain factions were limited in what they had access to. So, for example, Black Templars can't take Librarians. That hasn't changed. Dark Angels, Sternguard veteran squads, and Vanguard veteran squads cannot be from the Dark Angels chapter or their successors. This does not mention any of the other units that Space Marines have access to that previously Dark Angels couldn't have. Stuff like Thunderfire cannons.
Oh.
And I'm pretty sure they didn't have access to Whirlwinds either.
Oh.
So this is actually potentially really huge because a lot of the non-codex compliant chapters have actually received a huge expanded arsenal of units to use.
Wow.
Actually, no, they
Oh
couldn't
my
use.
God.
They don't think they use. No, they couldn't use Centurions
So
either.
does that mean a Dark Angel Whirlwind would get +1 to hit?
Yes.
Oh my God.
Which means they can park behind cover and fire at BS2 unless it gets FAQ'd. Unless they FAQ it and they come down, they're like, no, you still don't get those. As of right now, from what I am reading, rules as written, the only restrictions are they don't get Stern Guard vets and Vanguard vets.
Wow.
That's it.
Dark Angels are loving this codex.
But not just them, the Death Watch as well. They don't get assault squads. They miss out on attack bikes, Devastators, Stern Guards, and tactical squads. And scout units, so they can't be from Death Watch, which is not news. But once again, they're now getting Thunderstrikes. They're getting a host of new flyers. As these are written, they're also getting access. Like they only had their one flying unit, which was still really rad, but that was it. It was like kind of expensive. It was a transport vehicle. Now they can take like the interceptors if they want. They can take other units that they previously didn't have access to. They could take Thunderfires if they want. They take Whirlwinds. They basically, now it looks like more and more of the non-codex compliant chapters are going to get a wider access, including, this is for Blood Angels and Space Wolves as well. Space Wolves cannot be from Space Wolves. They get, because they're going to get their own version of Apothecary. No Assault Squads because they get their own version. Devastator Squads because they get their own version once again. Stern Guard, Tactical, Vanguard. But they're gaining so much more. And once again, they'll get their equivalents of these units when their supplement hits.
Right.
So yeah, that's huge. So right away, a lot of factions are getting new stuff.
Blood Angels aren't even mentioned in here.
No, probably they're
They're not even mentioned.
No, it looks like they're getting no restrictions as of right
They're
now.
getting it all.
No, unless we know there's supplements coming out soon, so unless they bring down the hammer in that one. But yeah, right now, everybody has access to. I mean, everybody's getting new stuff.
Wow.
Everybody's already getting new stuff. Everybody's already getting access to the new Primaris units coming out. But now we're having the added bonus of all the non-codex compliant chapters are gonna get access to a lot of the mainline codex goodies.
That's amazing.
So yes, anticipate, unless it gets FAQ'd, anticipate seeing some very silly lists.
I'm excited.
I'm very excited as well.
Yeah.
So we have that.
Here we are.
So
we're in the stats.
We're in the stats. We're looking at stat blocks for characters. Now, a lot of people have already seen the changes coming to the weapons. Like the heavy bolters, don't need mentioning because everybody's been like, oh my god, heavy bolters.
Yep.
I gotta get more heavy bolters. Everybody and their grandma's going to be getting more heavy bolters.
Yep.
So let's talk about some things that are just straight up new or things that are just not what they once were or not what they're supposed to be. Primaris captains and the Phobos ones, all still very similar. Though actually, this guy's, I think, might be new. The Mastercrafted Heavy Bolt Rifle. No, maybe not. He looks very familiar. Anyway, so we have that. Like, the ores still work, but once again, they're tied to core units only.
Yep.
So we have that. We have the captain, and regular captain.
Now,
you got
the cool thing is, all you do is pay CP to upgrade these guys now.
Yep.
Right?
Yep. Now it's just no, you don't pay CP. You just pay points.
Pay points.
Yeah, it's just points.
Not even CP.
No, which is a very valuable resource, and now that's been freed up. Now you just. It's like, oh, I have extra points left over, and I can't figure out what to do with it.
Oh my god, that's amazing.
Yeah.
That's amazing.
Which is just, I think, in my opinion, it's just way better than...
That's like the bane of everyone's list building, is when you're at, like, 1995.
Yeah,
it's
yeah.
Like,
It's like, I can't add another dude, and I can't... So, yeah, but basically, it just basically means it's another option when you're list building. You can pay some more points and take the better version, which means you're not burning CP, because let's face it, like, one of the things is if you want to take, like, it used to be if you wanted to take, like, the chapter command structure, like, I want, like, I wanted, like, the upgraded everything, the chapter master, like, the librarian, all that stuff. You could do that, but you were going to burn, like, 10 command points doing it, and which wasn't very viable because you're like, maybe not, because then I have no command points. Now you just pay points.
Which is cool. That's really cool.
Which I actually
it
really
also like consolidates armies too.
Yeah, I mean
right?
that's the way it used to be. It used to just be that how originally was when I started playing. Is if you wanted the chapter master upgrade, you pay points.
Yeah.
You factor it into your list by paying the price. Now here's something really special for certain players, maybe fans of White Scars. Everybody, Captain on a Bike.
Nice.
It is back. It's in the Codex. It's which I'm assuming means we're actually going to probably get some kind of model for it.
Mm-hmm.
But even the people that already just put the work in to make their own, you got Captain on a Bike, which is huge. That sweet toughness 5 and 6 wound character is back.
Honestly, I gotta say, like after looking through this, I think we've mentioned how Dark Angels are getting like the big buffs, but White Scars are pretty happy with this codex too.
I think so as well, actually, because absolutely, because a lot of the new units that are coming out are like you're getting a lot of new biker units and stuff that works with them. Raven Guard are definitely going to love the changes coming here because they're getting all those cool new stuff like the ATV and like the new Whirlwind, not Whirlwinds, but all the new skimmers.
Yeah,
they're like almost every single one except for the new mainline battle tank. It's going to have the Raven Ward keyword.
Yeah, but
biker, anybody who likes running bikes and fast armies, just being able to have a captain that can keep up and have a really tough stat line to where he's not going to get just sniped out is really, really great. So that's a big change coming. Yes, you have your captains back. Our lieutenants are much the same as they ever were. You have like 15 different flavors of lieutenant.
Mm-hmm. Which again, you can upgrade.
Actually, I don't know if they do.
You can't?
No.
Oh.
Never could. It'd be cool. I don't know what they would be. I guess actually they'd just be a captain.
Yeah, you just promote them.
Yeah, just promote. Oh, one other last thing to mention about one of the interesting things to mention about the Chapter Master upgrade is if you pay for the Chapter Master, they gain the keyword, so you can technically have a Chapter Master and a captain in the same detachment.
Oh.
So you can do that. You can't take 2 Chapter Masters, but you can take that and then a captain in the same detachment. So that is still a thing you can do. So we have our Librarians. You still can take them in the Phobos, the Primaris, the Terminator variety.
Chaplain on a bike.
Which they teased, which just you get more command structure that can be on a bike.
Yeah.
Chaplain Terminator armor. Got a nice 5 wounds.
That chaplain on a bike looks so cool.
He looks dope. Honestly, the chaplain models always look really cool.
Yeah.
I love the chaplain models. Then we have Primaris Tech Marine, which is another thing everybody can be looking forward to. Finally getting I mean, we got Papa Pharaohs, but now everybody can take a Primaris Tech Marine. It looks like he comes with a grav pistol and a forge bolter, which is a heavy bolter by a different name. Yeah, basically, and it can make attack with a weapon even if they shoot with a pistol. So yay, free shots. Then you have your servitors that are in the elite slot, as they always were. Tech Marines, you can just take a regular one if you want. Now we have our troop section. Now there are some big changes here. We do have our regular intercessors, nothing surprising there. Our assault intercessor squads, which is a nice change.
Yep.
And the heavy intercessor squads, which is a new thing. We're familiar with these two. These are rad. So
God, they're gross.
They are. So you are getting tough. They are toughness 5 and 3 wounds. They are core, so they will benefit from any auras.
And they're troops, so
and they're troop choice.
Take objectives with them.
Yeah, so they have OBSEC.
Oh my God.
The Executor bolt rifle, strength 5. Also, pretty much all their bolt gun options are strength 5. So it's like seems as of right now, it seems like a strict upgrade from an intercessor squad in case you just really want to bring the beef.
Mm-hmm.
They are slabs of beef.
Nothing under 24 inches range. Everything's 30, 30 and up.
It's 30 inches and up, yeah. You can bring along a Hellstorm bolt rifle. There's some new options here. The Hellstorm heavy bolter is basically a heavy bolter that loses a point of AP for an extra shot. So, an interesting side grade if that's what you're looking for. But yeah, the Executor bolt rifle, heavy 1, it's AP -2, damage 2. The heavy bolt rifle is in here as well. This is pretty bananas. For every 5 miles, you don't want heavy intercessors, heavy bolt rifle. So yeah, they all come with heavy bolt rifles. That's just really, really cool.
Wow.
Heavy bolt rifle. A heavy bolt rifle is rapid fire 1, strength 5, AP -1, damage 1. That's just really solid.
That's insane.
Woo! Yeah, that's really cool. All the models you need to have their heavy bolt rifles replaced with a Hellstorm bolt rifle. Oh, you can just switch things out. Oh, wow. And the Executor, which is basically a 2-shot, the heavy sniper, damage 3. So yeah, I really like heavy intercessors. I don't want to have to play against them, but I like them.
I think we're going to see a lot of them.
I think we're going to see, especially since they're a troop choice.
Yep.
Then we still have our infiltrators and our incursors. They have the smoke keyword, as I mentioned, with the cool strat.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, so you can finally you don't have to sacrifice your entire turn of shooting with like a 10-man squad just to get a -1 to hit. Tactical SWAT's still here in a troop choice, and they still operate the way they always did, except for the lovely extra wound they managed to bank. It is worth mentioning some people may have wondered, not everybody got extra wound. Like Primaris Marines they're not all 3 wounds now. They are toughness 4, 2 wounds. They stayed the same. Company champions in here as well. And this is a big change. I know some people are going to be a little salty about it. Scouts are now an elite's choice. Yes.
Take that, Imperium.
Take that, Imperium. Scouts are gone. Also, they did not get the wound buff. They are still at 1 wound. It only happens for fully fledged Astartes, which Scouts are technically not. They are technically not. In fact, back in the day, they actually had a watered down profile. They were not as tough or quite as skilled as fully fledged Space Marines back in the day.
Interesting.
Yes, and now we're kind of seeing that again.
But they have the keyword.
They do. No, they're still technically Astartes. They're just not fully fledged battle brothers. They're not the full deal. In this case, now it used to be represented with them having slightly more stat blocks, not being quite as strong as their full Astartes brothers, and not having as good a save. Then it kind of just became Space Marines that were cheaper and kind of better, but with 1 less save. But then you take camo cloaks, and then that saves better. Anyway, it became a little too much. Now there's a definitive difference between the two. But yes, it looks like the cheap troop choice that everybody loved to farm for their mandatory 3 troop slots or whatever back in the day is no longer an option. You have to take them as elites. So yes, it looks like your cheap option is now tactical Marines.
Yeah.
So tac Marines or go home, or better yet, just buy heavy intercessors.
Yep. Or so I was just gonna say, or just stock up on heavy intercessors.
Or just buy boxes and boxes of heavy intercessors. Play Imperial Fists and profit.
Or Dark Angels.
Yeah, Imperial Fists or Dark
Oh my God.
Dark Angels or Imperial, but either Dark Angels or Imperial Fists with heavy intercessors is going to be super gross.
That's good. Yeah,
it's going to be ugly. So we still have our Primaris Apothecary and our Apothecary. As I mentioned, their rules change a little. They don't get to just bring models back now. It's tied to a stratagem. But, and this is pretty cool, now the Narthicum, man, I'm not even pretend to pronounce it. Anyway. Now it's they just basically have a 3-inch aura that gives a 6-up feel no pain, which would be really nice with those. It's only for core and biker units, but man,
you're talking about the Narthicium.
Yeah, Narthicium. Sorry, Narthicium. Oh, actually, no, it's not core. It's infantry. Chapter infantry and biker units get a 6-up feel no pain, which will be really really funny with those previously mentioned heavy intercessors. But yeah,
Yikes.
So really, really interesting. Another interesting thing is now the regular apothecary is now tied to command squad. For each chapter company veterans unit, including attachment, 1 command squad apothecary can be included in that attachment without taking a battlefield slot. So basically, this now means that if you are taking company veterans, they used to be just strictly tied to the squad, but now you can take company veterans. And basically, if you take that and take the apothecary, he doesn't take it up an elite slot.
Oh my God!
Which is just a nice little bonus, if you're running a patrol detachment and you want to slip it in, but you don't, it's nice.
Yeah.
It's a nice option if you want to go that route. You have all your ancients still, your Primaris, your company ancient, your Blade Guard ancient. Once again, these guys are also eligible for the upgrade to get to if you want access to the new shiny stuff. You have your ancient here, your veteran, and that's in Terminator armor if you want to take that. Your veteran, this is cool. Veteran intercessors are now a elite choice. You don't pay command points for it as an upgrade anymore. Now you just pay points, and they get the extra attack on their profile, which is nice. They obviously get the veteran intercessor keyword. Their core, they have the core keyword, which is really nice. They have they have a nice array of options in here as well. You can give them some melee weapons. Either way, I like this as a change. I like this change for the veteran intercessors just costing points instead of command points. I think it's just strictly better. So we have veteran intercessors now as a unit for everybody, and it's a good time. Blade Guard Veteran Squad, we all know and love. Company veterans, once again, hasn't changed. except for the extra wound, which actually just makes them strictly better as well. And that's the big thing. A lot of these old units, I feel, are going to get a bit of a boost. They're going to be reinvigorated with these new rules because Vanguard veterans now have 2 wounds. That's huge. Stern Guard veterans, it's all nice because they can bring expensive guns, and it sucks when your dudes just die to nothing.
Yeah.
Judicars are in here as well for those that want to take them.
I don't think you can, right? These were Indominus exclusive.
Yeah, but they're gonna get. They'll get a.
The fact that you see them in here means there's more coming.
Yeah, it means that there's more coming, and that everybody's going to be able to take them. Which is
now
cool.
You got especially excited about these guys.
Maybe because I like. So they have a special stratagem now. And it works with certain types of the land speeders as well. But I like this because what you can do with the Reaver Squad now is there's a strat which you can use, and if an enemy unit comes within I think it's either 6 or 3 inches. It turns off their objective secured.
That's so nasty.
Especially since pretty much every mission right now, all the missions that you see being used are the primary's objective based.
Mm-hmm.
So being able to spend command points and just turn off somebody's objective secured can be really, really huge.
Yeah.
Especially for a hotly contested objective. It could be the difference between your opponent getting an extra 5 points on their primary in some situations.
Mm-hmm. Or 10.
Or 10. Yeah, it can really mess people up and really trip them up. So being able to just pop that off on a Reaver Squad, it's a Terror Troop stratagem, and just be just turn off their OBSEC can be really meaningful. Because then it's do you have enough bodies? If not, then you lose out. And it's particularly good in certain mirror matches.
Imagine holding them up in a drop pod, dropping that down, they pop out, and then...
they're Primaris, so no drop pod.
Oh...
But they come with native ways to come in. They can either outflank.
Are they? They don't have Primaris though. Oh, they do.
Yeah. Ugh. Yeah, sorry. But you can take grav shoots and let them just drop in.
Well, we'll see. We're gonna get to the drop pod. Maybe.
I know a lot of people are hoping.
Maybe.
I know a lot of people out there have been like, "Oh, let the Primaris fit in the regular transport." So we'll see. We'll see if that happens. I guess that is a possibility. We haven't gotten to the transports yet. Aggressor squads are the same, still delightful, still great units. Terminator Assault Squad, yay! Terminators got better. They are getting the extra wound.
Terminators are so gross in 9th.
Yeah, with the extra wound, they are going to be. There's something you actually have to.
Here's something a little interesting. Terminators are T4, whereas the heavy intercessors are 5.
It's because they got the Gravis. It's because it's heavy intercessors just basically get put in. It's weird because if you look at the model or the picture of the model here in the book, they don't look like most Gravis units. They look big and bulky. They look like they're wearing like 70s era space suits on top of an Astartes. Now, but yeah, when you looked at the heavy intercessors, I that's why I was surprised when I first saw the toughness 5. I was like, wait, what? It's because they're wearing a version of Gravis armor.
Got it.
And that's why they got the toughness 5. Yeah. But yes, so Terminators getting extra wound is nice. Being able to drop them down, and now you actually have to put some real firepower in them, drop them. There's not a ton of damage, flat damage 3, consistently damage 3 weapons out there. So this makes them a lot more survivable to stuff that's typically would smoke them, like damage 2 plasma guns. That most people can bring People can bring a lot of damage to. Not a lot of options for damage 3 weapons. So that's really, really nice. So we have that. Relic Terminator Squad, big change. It used to be you had a couple different versions of the Relic Terminator armor. You had Cataphracti and Tartaros. It looks like it's just been wrapped up into one. So yeah, now it's it only has the image of the Cataphracti here, but I'm pretty sure because they don't name Cataphracti and this exclude by virtue of not mention or just omitting Tartaros armor, it looks like you can just mix and match them now. They're just going to be, it's a blanket term for any old pattern of Terminator armor that Loyalists take. So then you have that. Centurion Assault Squad. Something to mention with the Centurions is they do not have the core keyword.
They don't.
Nope. They have the infantry keyword, but they don't have the core keyword.
Neither does the Tactical War Suit.
Nope. It looks like they do really want to clamp down on a lot of the silliness that was present right when the last Codex came out, like the people running walls of Centurions, dropping them in from the sky or infiltrating them up turn 1 and smashing people. So it looks like they want to cut down on a lot of that.
Yeah, I've had to deal with those, unfortunately.
It's not fun.
It's not.
No. Interesting, though, is that the regular Dreadnoughts do have the core keyword.
They do! They do, and the vehicle keyword.
Yes, they have the vehicle keyword, but they still got the core. So
the core.
So some people were like saying, I know some people out there were like, oh, core will only be infantry. It's definitely not going to be, vehicles. Mostly right. It's clearly a mix. They're picking and choosing. Dreadnought's still going to be core. They're going to get that benefit, but no, it looks like a lot of the vehicles we've seen are not core, like your mainline battle tanks, like repulsor executioners, stuff that already had like really good shooting and that just full rerolls, and getting all those rerolls just made them. I think
demands for dreadnoughts and heavy intercessors just spiked.
Yeah, you're going to see a little more of that, especially since dreadnoughts now can move and shoot without taking a penalty. It makes them, and they don't have any. Most of them don't have a degrading profile, which makes them pretty attractive choices, in my opinion, as well. I like them. I like dreadnoughts. I'll probably get like yelled at for saying that. Mainly because they're not a super competitive choice, but I still think they're fun. So we have our Ironclad here, who is also core. Redemptor, also core, for those of you who are in love with the Primaris version. Assault Squad. Yep, it's just better because now they have Astartes Chainswords, which are AP -1, which is a nice little addition.
Mm-hmm. And they got those Melt-A-Bombs.
Yep, they're a Melt-A-Bomb unit.
Ooh.
So yes, you can still run those bad boys up. Get them into combat with the vehicle, pop the strat, and do 2d3 mortal wounds.
Good God.
All you got to do is hit them, and it's not super hard to do. Weapon skill 3, chances are you'll get it. So we have that. Assault Squad, looking good. Outrider Squad, that was in the box set, if I'm not mistaken, and also in the new starter box.
Yeah.
Nothing new to really report there. Still really good. 4 wounds, a toughness 5.
Coming out swinging.
Swinging.
Again, White Scars. Happy with the...
Yeah. Invader ATV. This is a fun one. It's kind of like the attack. I look at it as the attack bike version of an Outrider bike, because an Outrider bike's already like a really big bike that's beefed up for a Primaris unit, and an attack bike version, pretty much it becomes an ATV, which is the Invader. And you can take 3 of these dudes in a squad, which is not bad. Toughness 5, 8 wounds, 14-inch move, which is not slow, but they can take onslaught cannons, multi-meltas. A nice little spread of options, and they get the Raven Wing keyword for those. Of course, yes. Anything on a bike in this all the new stuff that's on a bike. Is, also, Raven Wing.
We mentioned you like Dark Angels. You mentioned earlier how like they're getting access to all these things, right? So Dark Angels, Blood Angels. Yes. All these guys are going to be able to run these.
Yes, unless their supplements make some weird choice to down the line say like nope.
Yeah.
As rules as read right now, from what they put in this book, they're getting access to all this. Everybody is. Everybody's getting the new stuff. But moreover, some people are getting access to old stuff.
This has a 3-up weapon skill as well.
Yeah, no, they still fight in close combat. I mean, they don't have like a dedicated melee weapon, not like the Outriders.
Yeah.
The Outriders actually have chainswords.
Right, exactly.
But yeah, no, they can still bonk you a little bit. They're not bad.
Yeah.
So we have those. We have the classic bike squad, the old school scout bikes. Which remain the same, which is important to mention because the bike squads went up to 3 wounds. Like you're just regular bikers, got the extra wound as well to bring them in line. But the scout bikes are still rocking too, because scouts did not get an extra wound.
They are racking the smoke screen though.
They are.
Whereas these guys aren't.
Nope. Scouts get smoke, but not the bike squad. But just there's so many different options in here. Another little change I liked that they did is they addressed suppressors. Suppressors now. Their accelerated autocannons are now heavy 3. They still get their little like suppressing fire thing, which isn't as big a deal as it used to be. Not as strictly as useful as it once was. But now you get 3 extra shots out of a unit of 3, which I think is just really nice. It's subtle, it's small, but I think it's meaningful. Inceptor squads are much the same as they ever were, and I know some people are probably thinking and wondering, well, did they get the damage 2 upgrade on their bolters? Because their assault bolter was basically a heavy bolter, but it just was assault 3 and you had 2 of them. So to answer the question, no, it is still damage 1.
Wow.
You will not. Sorry, yeah. For the people that were hoping to have their Inceptors, not Inceptors, have their Inceptor squads come down. Like a full squad shooting 6. Yeah, you're not shooting 6 heavy bolter shots.
That would have been insane.
Yeah, no, you're not getting to do that at damage 2. I'm afraid you are going to be staying at damage 1. But yeah, the Plasma Exterminator is still much the same. Nothing different there, but I actually still kind of like that unit. Storm Speeder. Now you have new Storm Speeders.
Yeah.
3 variants. You have the Hail Strike. The Hailstrike, which is clearly the anti-infantry platform. The Stormspeeder Thunderstrike, which is leaning towards, I'd say, vehicles with a bit of anti-air. They clearly kind of want you to shoot at other flying stuff a little bit, but you could tackle tanks. Then the Stormspeeder Hammerstrike, which is an interesting in the middle. It's got some. It's got a Melta Destroyer, which is basically a 3-shot multi-melta by another name, which is really good for ripping up vehicles. And then the Hammerstrike Missile Launcher, which is kind of just seems good. There's some really awesome stuff. I actually really like the new Land Speeders. Then you have the classic Land Speeder, which is the same as it was with just the new weapon updates, like the Melta Gun update, which is just really good, and the Heavy Bolter update. You have the Tornadoes, the Land Speeder Tornado variants. It's interesting how they're divvying up a lot of the stuff that used to just be like an option. You would just like get used to be able to just get like a Land Speeder Storm, and then you just pick an options on it, and then it was just you just be like a Land Speeder. And it was just, I put this on it, put this on. Like the Typhoons weren't their own choice. Yeah. It used to just be that you took Typhoon missile launchers on your Land Speeder. Now they're dead. They're like definitively different units, which is interesting because it also means you can take more of them.
Yep.
I know it's something nobody thinks about, but it also means technically because they are different entries. You could take a whole army of speeders.
Oh my god!
You could just rock out speeders all day. The all speeder army.
Battleforge speeders.
Man, I will do 12 freshly baked cookies for somebody who like legitimately and I will send
we talking here?
Whatever the hell they want. I will legit do it if they make like an all land speeder army. You have enough options in here. Because each one counts as a different entry, so you can just do the all speeder thing. Just that would be so silly. I want to see it. Somebody do it. Do it. All right, so we have the Land Speeder Tornadoes, which is just, it comes with the Assault Cannon and the Heavy Flamer if you want it, the Land Speeder Typhoons, which comes with the Typhoon Launcher. Once again, used to be a weapon option, now it's its own unit or pattern. Hellblaster Squad, nice big changes there. Some people have already seen some of this. For one, the Assault Plasma Incinerator is Assault 3. Yikes. So you're getting less strength, but it's Assault now on top of the extra shot. I mean, it was Assault before, but it was like... Nobody took it. There's no reason to ever take it. Now you actually are rewarded for taking it. The Heavy Plasma Incinerator is got a nice boost. It's the number of shots and the strength remains the same, but now they've pumped the damage up by 1. So it's at its base, unovercharged, it's strength 8, damage 2, and when you overcharge it, it goes to strength 9, damage 3. That's good.
Yikes.
And they're a core unit.
Of course they are.
They have the core keyword. So you have that. And then the Plasma Incinerator is the same as it ever was. That hasn't changed. If it ain't broke, don't fix it. Eliminators, still solid. There is a small change, though, and a fair change, in my opinion, that probably needed to happen. The execution round is now different. You still get to add +1 to the hit roll. It's strength 5, AP -1. It's not bad. Difference is and it ignores cover. But you no longer get to shoot at stuff you can't see. People used to abuse it. They would hide their dudes.
Put them in the very back corner.
Very back corner, like facing a wall. Nobody would ever see them, but they could shoot across the board and hit a dude that was between like 3 mountains, and it's like they still got shot. So it was a little silly. Now, sorry, you actually need line of sight to use your eliminators. So there you go. So we have that. Centurion Devastator Squad. The Centurion Missile Launcher looks like it's changed a bit. It's the Centurion Missile Launcher is now Assault D3, Strength 8, AP -2, Damage D3, and Blast, which is strange. Because it used to just be basically like a regular missile launcher. It used to just fire like a crack missiles. Again, either fired the crack missiles or it fired frag missiles. Mm-hmm. Now it's like its own thing. Grav cannons are heavy 4. That's a nice improvement. It looks like Grav got a change. Now it's like the Grav cannon. It used to be against things that had a save of 3 or better. So basically, Marines, Terminators, and equivalents, you did or even vehicles, you did D3 damage. Problem is, on a bad roll, it was a major feels bad moment. If you rolled like a bunch of 1s, you're like, oh, that's great. No, now it's been buffed up. It just does damage 2. So against more armored targets, you're just going to do 2 damage, which is really nice to be able to just know. It's like, okay, if I shoot those newly improved Marines, it's 2 damage. I'll kill a Marine each time. Really, really like that. Hurricane Bolters, no change. It's nice. Eradicators
are going to, looks like they're getting a heavy melta rifle, which is for every 3 models, you can change one guy to a heavy melta. So everybody's already been using the Eradicators with the melta rifles, which are just really good because they can double tap against something. They're just really, really solid. But the heavy melta rifle, strength 8, AP -4, like a melta gun it should be, but it's damage D6 plus 2. Now you're probably thinking, oh, well, that's all the melta now. Yes, but that's when it's not in melta range. When it's in melta range, it's damage, it's D6 plus 4.
Oh my god.
Which means at minimum you're doing 5, and at the max you're doing, you're doing, 10 damage. Yeah.
Yikes.
10 damage, doing 10 damage is pretty intense.
Oh my god. It's a vehicle killer.
Yeah, it's like Invul Save or Get Off the Table.
Yeah.
So yeah, really solid unit. I'm really excited to see how these go. Once again, there's toughness 5 and 3 wounds because they're rocking that armor because they have the gravis. So I anticipate we're already seeing a lot of them on the table. People trying to get their hands on them like crazy. I think that's probably going to continue.
Yeah.
Devastators. So all their weapon options were not shown on their page. But we know that Grav Cannon's got a boost. We know that a lot of the weapons got a boost. So we'll just kind of move past that. They are 2 wounds now, which is really important. Thunderfire Cannons, they are pretty much the same as they ever were. It's just now more people have access to them.
Mm-hmm.
Fire Strike Servo Turrets, if you really want to get it done, you can bring up to 3 of these. You have either the Twin Accelerator Autocannons with 6-shot autocannon by another name, or the Twin Last Talons. Shorter range, but you get 4 shots that are 4 last cannon shots. And as of right now, unless they clarify, I think you can actually outflank these, or basically put them in tactical reserve, which should be hilarious. So we'll see. Imperium, Fire Strike Certors. Yeah, I don't see anything that says you can't yet, so I anticipate that to maybe get FAQ'd.
God.
Because that would be a little silly. Just have it's like, oh yeah, I'll have 12 last cannon shots outflank. Yes, they only move 3 inches a turn, but they get to come in from the board edge and just wreck like a handful of things and can't stop it. So Hunters, Stalkers, no changes. Whirlwinds, no changes, except for the fact that more people can take them now.
Now they're Dark Angel Whirlwinds.
Now they're Dark Angel Whirlwinds.
Plus 1 to hit.
Plus 1 to... yeah, I mean, we'll see. And they might take it away just because they feel like that's really, really strong. So we have our Whirlwind. Now, another interesting thing, Predators are now delineated into different chassis types based, like they're their own entries. The Predator Destructor, for example, is the one that comes with the Predator Autocannon. Mm-hmm. And the Predator Annihilator is the one that comes with 2 last cannons.
Wow.
So this also means, as of my understanding of the rules, you can now take 6 Predators. I mean, obviously, like in an army, like the rule of 3 normally would stop you. Like you bump into the rule of 3.
God.
Yeah, normally it's like, oh, sorry, rule of 3, you can only have 3. Now you can technically have 6.
That's amazing.
That's great. But otherwise, they're the same. It's just,
I mean, we kind of foresaw 9th being like also a heavy vehicle type of edition. Like just the rules for vehicles
got way better.
Yeah.
Though it's hard to say because now the Marines have 2 wounds. It's going to be really hard to decide like which way to go is better because some of the stuff that vehicles are getting is really, really spicy. But having like just 2 wound stuff, so many multi-wound infantry models. I mean, it's a tough one. I will say certain sub factions will be probably like almost all infantry. Like I could see like Death Guard when they get that extra wound.
Mm-hmm. We'll see. We'll see. Death Guard Codex breakdown coming soon. But
oh my god,
not yet.
Not yet. Oh boy, that's going to be a thing.
That's going to be crazy.
So also, if you just really like to take lots of tanks, you have the new Gladiator chassis, which is the Primaris hoverboat. Hover tank, not hoverboat. Nice thing though about these, it's a subtle thing. Some of you probably already seen it. It is toughness 8, which is nice because Predators, most like the battle line tanks for Marines have traditionally always been like locked in at toughness 7. Mm-hmm. So it is really nice to actually see another toughness 8 tank aside from the Vindicator out there. But yeah, so you have the Lancer, which is your I don't like vehicles version. It comes with the Lancer Laser Destroyer, which is like the big scary gun it's actually very similar to the big gun that comes on the the Repulsor Executioner.
Okay.
It's strength 10. It's similar, not quite as crazy, but similar. It's strength 10, AP -3, damage D3 +3, and yeah. So, but it seems like a nice cheaper option because Executioners are really, really points intensive. So you can bring more Gladiators instead, which I like.
Yeah.
Gladiator Reaper. Don't like infantry. Just bring one of those because you will get 24 assault cannon shots basically. So good for.
It's not bad.
Not bad. Ballistic skill 3 up. Not terrible. I'm not gonna. And then you have the Gladiator Valiant. If you really like your multi-meltas, wink wink nudge nudge for Salamander players. Seems
This
like
is the play.
This seems like that's the Valiant seems like the version for you. It comes with a multi-melta on it, which is a nice little boon.
Nice little AP.
Nice solid AP, solid stuff. I like it.
Yeah.
So we have that, and it comes with all the good stuff. Yep, hover tank, Vindicator. Now this is actually a nice little subtle bonus that I actually really liked. So it used to be that a siege shield was something you paid for as an upgrade, right? It used to be it like helped you go through terrain, and then it kind of became something that was just looked cool on the model but didn't do anything. Now, anytime somebody shoots at it, it's a ranged attack. You get to add 1 to your armor throw.
Oh.
So they actually have a 2-up armor now. They actually have 2-up armor now. Toughness 8, 11 wounds, and 2-up armor.
Wow.
Yep, that's actually really, really sweet.
That's pretty nice.
Yeah, and of course, their Demolisher Cannon still has a blast rule, which is always useful. But yeah, now they have a 2-up save, so it's kind of like a weird off-brand Land Raider that has no transport capacity.
Yikes.
Land Raider's still here.
Yeah. Still transporting.
Still doing its thing. No changes. No changes. I mean, once again, It didn't really need anything. Now there is something to mention here because it talks about the transport capacity. To shatter some hopes and dreams, it looks like. No Primaris.
No Primaris.
No Primaris.
But we still have the drop pod.
We still have the drop pod. You do still have the drop pod. Maybe. I don't know, though. That's not boding well. And what about the Crusader's pretty big. Nope, no Primaris. But otherwise, stats are the same. Same thing with the Redeemer. No changes there. Repulsor, same old Repulsor you know and love. Only takes Primaris. Okay. Yep. Repulsor Executioner, same as it always was. Really solid. Just, with some updated weapons, like any heavy bolters they could take, or obviously the new, better versions.
Rhinos Razorbacks, no Primaris.
No Primaris. But otherwise the same, except for one thing I was hoping they'd bring back on Razorbacks, which was they used to take, you used to be able to take Twin Heavy Flamers, and they removed it on the most recent update, and I thought maybe they'll add it back in. They did not. So sorry, no Twin Heavy Flamers on your Razorbacks. I know I'm sad about that as well. But that is what it is. Impulsor, no change. Drop
pod. No Primaris on the drop pod.
Sorry, gents. You're going to have to use strategic reserves or foot slog or pay for your rather pricey vehicles. Yeah, sorry. No drop podding intercessors, which I admit would be...
Good God.
Potentially game breaking. Maybe if they got their own slightly more expensive version of a drop pod, but I think letting them use the cheaper regular Astartes drop pods would be game breaking.
Yeah.
So we have that. We have Landspeeder Storm. No changes. Not that anybody ever took them. Stormhawk Interceptor. Same diff. No changes. Didn't see much of those used. The Storm Talons.
I mean, the vehicles were all kind of
weird at the time. They're way better now.
Yeah. And it's more so just the 9th edition rules have upgraded them.
Yeah, honestly, like the Storm Talon gunship is just now strictly better because it, when you're doing strafing runs, you're just wrecking stuff. Oh wait,
yeah.
Oh, they think they removed it. Uh-oh. Yeah, supersonics there, hard to hits there. Airborne, hoverjet. Oh, that makes me sad. They nerfed it. I guess it was a little too good. So. Storm Talon gunships had a special rule called Strafing Run that whenever they were shooting at something that was on the ground and couldn't fly, they got +1 to hit it.
Oh.
Right. Now, for a while, this was just to balance out the thing you lost from moving and shooting because their guns were all heavy. So they did that to balance out so they hit on 3s. Then certain abilities allowed them to count as not moving, so suddenly you were hitting on 2s. Then the vehicle update happened, and it's like, oh, Storm Talons just always hit on 2s. because they still had the strafing run at the time. This update does get rid of it. So if you were hoping to slam Storm Talons and get basically a 2-up ballistic skill all the time, I'm afraid you will not.
Not happening.
They have adjusted it to fall in line with the new rules, so they are just going to be BS3. Unless you hold it still as a Dark Angel player for some reason.
Exactly, because Dark Angels can take it.
I mean,
oh my God.
I mean, yes, they can take it now, and I guess they could before, but now it can. I mean, it can hover. So can Stormraven gunships. They can hover. In case you just want to be a complete lunatic, you can just drop your Stormraven in a hover and count as not moving and hit on 2s. Like some kind of madman. Oh, weapon update that showed up here on the Stormraven. Heavy plasma cannons got a nice boost. They are now damage 2 flat whenever they're not overcharged. And when you overcharge a plasma cannon, it is damage 3. It doesn't sound like a lot, and they got the blast rule, of course, but that's way better than they once were. It used to just be that they were basically a plasma gun with longer range and random amount of shots. Now they actually feel substantially better, especially since they are you can overcharge them to damage 3.
Good God.
That's really good. That's really good. Hammerfall Bunker. This is the new one.
Yeah. A lot of people are excited about this one, actually.
So this one is interesting. So it's got a 4 ballistic skill, and it's got a heavy bolter array. So it looks like, from the way I'm reading this, the heavy bolter array counts as all of its whole thing. Let's see. This model, yeah, heavy bolter array can be placed on Hammerfall heavy flamer array. So there is one interesting thing to note about this. So I didn't see anything here about deploying it forward, and I thought for sure I would. And maybe that's something they just missed, and we'll get FAQ'd. But this thing here can basically shoot its heavy bolters or heavy flamers, if they're in range, can shoot at any eligible targets.
Where does it say that?
All the time. It's right, defensive array. In your shooting phase, anytime they're selected to shoot, the heavy bolter array or heavy flamer array can target and resolve attacks against every eligible enemy unit.
Got it.
Which basically, it means, the way it's written out here, basically means that if there's like 6 units that are in range, you get to shoot your heavy bolter array at all 6 of them.
Oh.
Yes. Now, granted, it is not, you're not shooting literally every heavy bolter that's on the model, because that would be game breaking, but that's still, you still get to fire off a heavy bolter at everything. So if your opponent made the mistake of taking like an MSU based army with like lots of little small units all over the place to try to like jank you out, the Hammerfall Bunker will punish them fairly hard.
Yeah.
Like I said, the 4 ballistic skill is a little limiting, but if you can find a way to deploy these further up, or they get it added to it or whatever, then the heavy flamer would be absolutely hilarious and a great way to lock down entire sections of the board. Probably why they don't allow you to deep strike it right now. But yeah, that's a new one. I actually really like it. It's tough to save with 14 wounds and a 3-up save, so it's pretty durable.
Yeah.
That's really cool. No, there's a lot of really cool stuff here. I have to say, this is one of the craziest books I've ever seen released. Certainly one of the largest. The weapon profiles, it's just, there's pages we could get into.
Go into points and all that, but
that's a whole other thing.
Yeah, that's a whole other thing. Plus, we got to make sure we can't spoil everything out of the book.
No, we can't.
So
we cannot do that.
We dove pretty deep on this one, and yeah, there's a lot here. Space Marine players, you got a lot to look forward to.
Like I said, I thought he had handed, when I saw how thick this book was, I literally thought he was like this is the rule book, dude. You handed me the core rule book.
You thought I was pranking you.
Yeah, I thought or worse, you would grab the wrong book, and I was like, oh, we're going to have to go back to the office and get the right book. No. And I was like, oh man, that's a whole other trip. No, it's the right book. It's just, the thickest codex I've ever seen.
Yeah, lots there. So there it is, guys. It's coming out soon. It's up for pre-order today. So it's
is it today or tomorrow?
This weekend.
Yeah, it's coming out.
So this weekend, pre-order. So you got this. Like, get it and yeah, enjoy.
Yeah, it's so good.
All right, and thanks for coming on and breaking down with us, Dakota.
Yeah, man. Yeah.
Cool. Appreciate it. All right, guys, take care.